It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Caroline Haskins is here from Motherboard. Mike Elgin has settled down from his trip around the world to this chair right here next to me. We're going to talk about the biggest fine in FTC history, Instagram versus the bullies, and Caroline will talk about what she's learned about a technology local cities are using to spy on you and me. It's all coming up next on Twit.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit This Week in Tech, episode 727, recorded Sunday, July 14th, 2019. Artisanal Pickles from Williamsburg. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Worldwide Technology. Worldwide Technology's advanced technology centers like no other testing and research lab, with more than $500 million of equipment, including OEMs like NetApp. And it's virtual, so you can access it 24/7. To learn more and get insights into all it offers, go to wwt.com/twit. And by Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile provides the same premium network coverage you're used to, but at a fraction of the cost because everything's online. To get your new wireless plan for $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door free, go to mintmobile.com/twit. And by Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. Thinking about moving your data storage to the cloud? Wasabi is enterprise-class cloud storage at 1/5 the price of Amazon S3 and up to 6 times faster, with no hidden fees for egress or API requests. Calculate your savings and try Wasabi with free unlimited storage for a month at wasabi.com. Code TWIT. And by ZipRecruiter. Hiring is challenging, but there's one place you can go where hiring is simple and smart. That place is ZipRecruiter, where growing businesses connect to qualified candidates. Try it free at ziprecruiter.com/twit. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news. And look who's here in studio. Mike Elgin is joining us. He is off the road, in town, and whenever Mike's in town, we like to get you in studio.
Thank you, Theo. It's great to be in town.
He is a gastronomad. In fact, gastronomad.net. What was was Barcelona your most recent event?
Barcelona is the next one.
Oh, it's coming.
We still have some space open for this one. That's what this post is all
Cava
about.
Barcelona.
So what we do is, everybody loves Barcelona, but a lot of people don't know about the nearby Cava wine country.
No.
So we stay there for 5 nights, 6 days, and we explore, go wine tasting, we make cheese, we do all this kind of stuff, we bake bread, but we take a couple of surgical strikes into the city of Barcelona. And it's just the most fantastic thing in the world. It truly is.
The food in Catalonia is incredible.
We know exactly where the most authentic and best tapas places are, where just like the best baker in Spain, that woman there, she gives us an exclusive.
The best baker in Spain?
2 years ago, she was named the best baker in Spain. And she is amazing, but she's a good friend. We go and we explore. If you go down, this is a good one. See this one right here?
There's the cave.
So this is cava. They store it in
Cava's
bunkers.
a sparkling one, like champagne.
Sparkling wine. Yeah, it's like Prosecco, champagne, something like that. But this guy stores it in a bomb shelter from the Spanish Civil War.
Wow.
And it's in the middle of a vineyard. I can't tell you where it is, or
Generalist of Rome, Francisco Franco's buried there.
But it's a fascinating region, and the culture of Catalonian food, which people don't quite get when you go to Barcelona on vacation, don't quite get to it.
What fun.
But we go straight to it.
Oh, I could spend years in Barcelona, and you'd never plumb the depths of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely true.
We also want to welcome a brand new member to our team. I'm really pleased to welcome from Motherboard, the Vice publication, Caroline Haskins. Hi, Caroline.
Hi.
Great to have you. Welcome. Don't be intimidated. This is going to be a lot of fun. We are going to start. Mike's shaking his head.
No.
He says it's not fun.
Poor thing.
We're going to start today with Facebook. The largest fine in the history of the Federal Trade Commission. The FTC had a consent decree with Facebook in 2011 that they would not do whatever it is Facebook does. They did it, apparently, when some of our data went to Cambridge Analytica. So the FTC got together, voted 3-2. Interestingly, it was the Republicans that voted for the fine, the Democrats that voted against the fine. The largest fine in the history of the FTC, $5 billion. That sounds like a lot of money, right?
Sounds like a Dr. Evil.
Except Facebook's stock price went up after the fine $6 billion. So Mark Zuckerberg is smiling because he made money. He made money. I guess Facebook was smart. They had said in their quarterly report that they expected this $5 billion
They budgeted
fine.
it.
They budgeted
in advance.
And so they prepared the market, right? And then when the fine actually was $5 billion, as usual, you sell on the rumor, you buy on the news, or you buy on the news and you sell on the rumor. I can't remember, but whatever, it was good news.
Everybody laments the political division in society, but both Republicans and Democrats can get behind crushing Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that is
Something
a nonpartisan issue
as Americans.
So Caroline, is $5 billion a slap on? That sounds like a lot of money. Is it a slap on the wrist?
It kind of seems like a drop in the bucket. I don't know. I remember a couple of months ago, there were a couple of other figures that were being thrown around, and it seemed like they were potentially going to be hit with a lot more money, but it really doesn't seem like this is going to have an impact on them at all.
Kara Swisher said, you really want to fine them, add a zero to the 5, make it $50 billion. Mm-hmm. Elizabeth Warren said Facebook made $5 billion in profits in the first 3 months of the year. Actually, that's not true. I think it was revenue, not profits. The company's too big to oversee, and this drop in the bucket penalty confirms that. It is true that, I mean, look, at anything with a B is a lot of money for any company, but it isn't, Facebook had $15 billion in revenue. Oh, I'm sorry, it is $15 billion in revenue last quarter, $22 billion in profit. So it was 1 quarter profit. You could see the stock jump there. Mike Isaac said the real story is that Facebook shares surged with that fine. So clearly the market's saying, yeah, slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
What do you're not on Facebook. In fact, I used you as an example, Mike Elgin, because you have Mike's Nice Book.
Yes. So what I did was last year I said I was getting off 4th of July. And I spent all these months this year harassing and criticizing Facebook. Of course, it did no good at all because they were censoring my posts, clearly. But I replaced it with a Google folder I call my Nice Book. And you can go. It's
a public folder, so anybody can follow it just as they would on Facebook.
Yes. So if you search for Mike Elgin Nice Book, you'll find links to it, and I invite you all. But this is my personal. This is my family.
So it's the kind of pictures you would have put on Facebook. Exactly. Is there text though, or is it just pictures?
There's text. You can do posts.
Where do you put your dank memes? Can you put them up there too?
No, you cannot. So each person's. This is the beauty of it. This is how a social network should work. Only I can post in my Nice Book, and I can follow your Nice Book, and then I see it in the stream. So if you're on Google Photos and you go to sharing, which nobody ever does, it's the tab on the far right.
Yeah.
You get all the stuff that's been shared with you, and it's kind of like a social network. So I think Google could turn it into a lot more.
I follow your Nice Book.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
So I could make one of these. What if I wanted to make one? I would just set up a sharing and say it's public.
Yes, and it's kind of. I believe that's the default actually. That it's public, and then you just share the link.
Okay.
With family and friends by email. People can choose their own notifications. So some people get it on their phone. Some people get an email. Some people don't get the notifications. They just see it in Google Photos when they go. But it's beautiful. These photos are full quality. If you click on these photos, they're full quality.
Much better than Facebook, which squishes them.
And you can add little comments. You can like things, and it's a stream without ads.
That's Mike's wife, by the way, Amira, who's so beautiful, sitting in a restaurant that apparently has parking meters called the Naughty Pig.
That's on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood.
Okay.
2 nights ago. But it's a wonderful alternative, because really what we want to do on Facebook is we want to see a stream of our people we care about and the photos.
Because I say all the time, I say, get off Facebook. I'm off Facebook. Caroline, do you have to, it's an occupational hazard, be on all the networks probably.
Yeah. I feel like it would be sort of irresponsible for me to not even know what's going on.
Do you
on
kind
Facebook.
of wish you could get rid of Instagram and Facebook?
I wish I could. It would be nice. The strange thing is that a lot of my peers still use Facebook for event invitations, and I've noticed people a little bit more recently using different types of forums, but it almost seems like for a lot of people, at least in my immediate social circle, that Facebook is still a way to guarantee that someone is going to be able to see something. But I don't know. I want to go back to the days of like personal websites.
Yeah. Well, you know,
like early 2000s-esque, like nice.
I'm sorry to step on your comment there, Caroline, but this is what I hear. I'm talking to lots and lots of people all over the world, Leo, because in Europe.
But you have a blog.
I have a blog, but I know lots of people in Europe who use 1, 2, or 3 social things, and those things are always Facebook properties. So I know people who do Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, or they just do Instagram and WhatsApp. That
was one of the hardships for me. Is when I got rid of Facebook, I felt like, well, I should also get rid of Instagram. I didn't really use WhatsApp, but I should get rid of all 3. If I have any one of them on my phone, I've given Facebook an entree into my life.
Absolutely, and this is the interesting thing about WhatsApp. Americans don't use WhatsApp much, but everybody else, it's the
and that's what
thing.
I hear when I say get off Facebook. What I universally hear is that's a privileged point of view. I can't get off.
This
Facebook,
is the problem with Facebook. We're on the brink where everybody I've talked to says they need it.
In some countries, it's the internet.
Well, exactly. And lots and lots of people say, I don't use the internet. I use Facebook.
Right.
And so
it's AOL for the 21st century.
And the scheme that Mark Zuckerberg is hatching as we sit here is he's trying to turn it into WeChat. So in China, WeChat is everything. It's an e-commerce platform.
That's why LibreCoin. That's why he's got a currency, because he wants this to be, everything goes through Facebook.
And so we're already like, everybody I talk to says, oh, I'm not going to get off Facebook because I need it for this reason or that reason. Caroline has her reasons. Everybody has a reason why they need Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp. And this is a problem. We shouldn't
Caroline, I had heard that younger people thought, maybe you're not as young as you look, but younger people said Facebook is like your parents' social network, and people under 30 say are Snapchat or TikTok. There are other places.
Right. Yeah, I think there's definitely still that reputation.
But in college, did you use Facebook? My daughter is 27, still is on Facebook because that's how she stays in touch with her college friends.
I did. Yeah. I mean, Facebook was used in terms of like finding college roommates freshman year, doing introductions, and that's sort of pivoted onto Instagram, which is, again, still a Facebook property. So it seems like you're still sort of relying on this biggest common denominator. Like there's this assumption that you have an account on at least one Facebook.
It is really the reason Facebook is an incumbent and it will be hard to unseat is the so-called network effect. You have to be where everybody is. There's no point. I mean, I'm on Mastodon. I'm on Ello. But there's no point because it's me and a couple other people.
But there's
I don't even know them, and we're looking at each other going,
But this is true, but here's the problem. So the only social network that's bigger than Facebook is email, which is about 3 or 4 times the size of Facebook.
And you're a big proponent of mail newsletters.
But the problem is people have lost control of their inboxes. And they're afraid of it, and they don't want to go there.
Yeah.
And so, but if people could just get a handle on their email inboxes, email would be the ultimate social network, because you could be on Mastodon and use email-based notifications, and it'd be like everybody's on the same social network. But people are reticent to use email.
I often say that if you want to stay in touch with your college friends or your grandparents, email would work, right? But I guess it's not that. There's not that.
But email should be a delivery mechanism for the notification.
It feels like it's a one-on-one conversation. Email.
It doesn't feel like that stream, like you're tapping into what's happening.
I want to wade into the pool of the zeitgeist.
And this is how the social networks get us. They've tapped into our psychology and makes us feel like we've got our finger on the pulse. Whereas email feels like your finger is not on the pulse,
right?
And so it's all these feel-based, emotion-based tricks that they use. The little red thing with a number in it, people have to click on that.
So Caroline, should it have been? Does the FTC have any solution? If it had been 500 billion, would that have mattered? It doesn't. It feels like the FTC is helpless in the face of this.
Right. It's hard to say. I mean, a fine is one thing, but regulations that are going to be preventing something like a Cambridge Analytica situation from happening again would be, more ideal. And that doesn't look like, I know that legislation is on the way in California, but it doesn't seem like the regulations we need are on the way anytime soon. So it's hard to say whether a fine would be like 100% the answer here.
And a lot of times when we talk about regulation, there's always this issue of unintended consequences. Casey Newton has a great article this week on The Verge talking about the ugly side of Facebook's pivot to privacy. So Facebook's solution was this Mark Zuckerberg post saying, oh, okay, no problem. Everything will be end-to-end encrypted private. But as Casey points out, now what you have is private groups like that horrific Border Patrol group that ProPublica found last week. It's private. It's, you know, they had to dig to find it. Le Monde found in France a group of 56,000 people devoted largely to making anti-female comments, a French group. A Twitter user stumbled across a Facebook TV ad, investigated one of the featured groups and found who stumbled across a Facebook TV ad. Oh, he found it, and he posted some of the ugly posts. Large private, this is Elizabeth Dwoskin writing in the Washington Post, large private groups remain unmoderated black boxes where users could freely threaten vulnerable populations. Actually, she's quoting Jonathan Greenblatt, who's with the Anti-Defamation League. Without any AI or human moderators, it's easy to orchestrate harassment campaigns. It becomes 4chan or 8chan. It becomes a secret place for evilness. So that's not a solution either.
I'm less, I mean, this is going to sound horrible, but I'm less bothered by this sort of thing because...
In private, you don't mind?
Well, it's not that I don't mind. I mind that people are evil. Bothers me, but they're going to.
But at least they're not in my face. Evil.
Well, I mean, if it's to me, this is more akin to just having an evil conversation in your living room or whatever.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
What bothers me is the viral mechanisms of using algorithms to like bring in lots of people and sort of change their minds about.
See,
things.
I always thought, and maybe this was naive of me, but that light was a disinfectant. That you lift up the rock and you let the world see this, and the world will rear back in revulsion and say, no, this will not stand. We don't want Nazis. But what is in fact happened is the Nazis have taken over Twitter. It's not. There's no revulsion.
But the unfortunate thing is
Karsten Bondy, my producer.
The unfortunate thing is that YouTube's algorithms sees revulsion as excitement.
That's positive. That's engagement. I don't care if you're disgusted. It's engagement.
It's who is it that said that it's like people slow down to look at a car accident, and so the internet responds by producing more car accidents.
Yeah. This is the slavish following of the algorithm is a bad thing. I've often said that the real problem with YouTube is the recommendation engine, the algorithm. Clearly, the problem with Facebook is the algorithm that drives the news feed, because absent any human oversight, these are optimized for engagement because that's more revenue, and that's where you get these horrible, vicious circles that promote offensive behavior.
And to me, the elephant in the living room, and that's not a GOP pun, by the way, the elephant in the living room is which I don't think he's exploring here enough, is that you talked about the disinfectant quality of light. What Zuckerberg has proposed for his big privacy pivot, which is complete BS, is to unite all of his messaging platforms and have end-to-end encryption, so nobody can see inside that black box.
Yeah.
And then, and the other part of it is the solution to bullying and hate speech and all that stuff are algorithms that work behind the scenes that nobody can see how they work or what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So we're entering into an era where all this stuff, where the conversations are happening beyond anyone's ability to see it, and also where the solution, the algorithms are happening behind the scenes with nobody's ability to see it. This is kind of like a golden age of journalists can go and expose these things and write articles like Casey Newton's article.
That's not going to happen.
We're on the brink of him not having any access
ProPublica won't be able to find these secret. Poor Caroline. You didn't know you were going on the grumpy old men complain about the You Kids Today show.
You kids.
No, please.
In my day, we didn't do this because we didn't have any of it.
I just think it's strange that this whole pivot to groups and like emphasizing groups on Facebook has been presented as this solution both to like hate speech and fake news and for making Facebook just a place to that people want to go. I mean, anecdotally, it seems pretty clear that Facebook groups is one of the only reasons that people would go on Facebook for pleasure. But in terms of
that's
Facebook,
interesting.
Yeah. In terms of like, I don't know, meme groups or like the rise of certain Facebook groups where it's like Facebook group where we all pretend to be X. Like, for instance, a really popular one is a group where we all pretend to be boomers and everybody makes fun of the way that their parents.
Tell me you're not in that group.
I joined for journalistic purposes.
Oh, yeah, sure. I think
It's
we
funny.
boomers should invade Area 51. Oh, no, that's another one. Sorry.
Yeah, that's an event. Big event.
That's a big event. Oh, that's interesting. See, this is where I am at a disadvantage. So Facebook has kind of pivoted from what its original promise was you follow the news feed and see what your friends and family are up to finding affinity groups. And we know affinity groups are the worst thing in the world because really what happens is whatever, it's a mob mentality. Whatever that prime factor for that affinity group is becomes amplified.
It depends. I mean, they say that certain types of flagged posts or fake news will be deprioritized, even in private Facebook groups, which I think personally, at least in some cases, not in the case of like outright hate speech, but in terms of certain gray areas, it might be a better solution than just pulling this stuff off the internet entirely and just having really no grasp on how different communities are spreading different kinds of information. But, at the same time, pretending that Facebook groups is going to be like solving all of Facebook problems, well, your feed is going to still be including a lot of the same type of content. At the end of the day, it's just going to be like a category-specific news feed with a couple of specific people. And when you open Facebook right now, almost every time I open it, it'll say right at the top, this many of your friends have joined Facebook groups and find new Facebook groups.
It's so funny because Google Plus in its last dying days did the same pivot. Didn't save it, but they said, join a community, join a community. So there must be some research that says, oh yeah, people are happiest when they're in a community.
Yeah, and people
That's terrible though, because the communities are horrific. My biggest or awesome, yeah. Thank you, Karsten. My biggest, Karsten? What groups are you in?
I also am a Facebook refugee, but
oh, okay.
He's one of those guys who pretends to be a boomer.
There's definitely something to be said for affinity groups where people can find people like them.
Well, yeah, in a way, that's what geeks did in the very beginning. That's what we did. We found each other. I keep thinking that the platforms can't solve this. It's not going to be, and government can't solve it. Only humans can solve it, but humans, we're so flawed.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a solution there either. I feel like I'm starting to despair.
But we have to be clear about what the problem is, and it's why it bothers me that, that somebody is saying something mean on the internet somewhere is not the problem, right? If people should be able to have private groups no matter what they say to each other in those groups. Private conversations, people should be able to say on the telephone, for example. You shouldn't have algorithms going through and listening to conversations saying, oh, you shouldn't talk about that.
And that's historically the case.
Right.
That's what Section 230 of the Internet, whatever it's called, decency collaboration. What is it called?
I have no idea. I don't know what it's called.
The Communications Decency Act of 1996, I think.
Yeah.
Section 230 said that just like the phone system, you can't expect platforms, online services to police content. They're just conveyors of content.
So it does.
By the way, President Trump wants to get rid of Section 230. There's a move afoot to do that. So that may be actually under assault anyway, but I don't know if that protects it either. I don't know what the solution is. I really don't.
I really think we need to focus on algorithms and amplification.
That's what Facebook says, algorithms.
But focus on the problem with algorithms. And not the focus on private little groups where nasty little people talk to each other about all these evil things.
Let them do their things in private.
They try to make it seem like a bigger problem by saying, oh, they could be plotting and planning all this stuff.
Well, they could be.
Well, yes, that stuff is going to happen, and when they break the law, they need to go to prison.
Right.
When they break the law in real life, but whatever happened to free speech? We should have a place for free speech. What we shouldn't have is a place where
it amplifies by
profiting.
Yeah.
And so Jason Calacanis, of all people, proposed a new social network, which he described as a simple feed with no algorithmic filtering, one ad on the top of the page. You can pay $50 a month to get rid of the ad. And it's just, you get everything that the people you follow post in reverse chronological order. End of story.
It's kind of what Facebook was supposed to be in the beginning.
Exactly, but there's no money in that. Right? You can't be you can't end up being the most powerful person in the world and one of the richest.
There has to be somewhere in between no money and $22 billion a year. There has to be some mid-ground where you make a decent living. It's a good service. People use it.
It's called Mastodon.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap if Mark Zuckerberg is rich. I really don't care if he makes a lot of money. What I care about is that people can have conversations. We have free speech, but we also have...
And we don't amplify.
We're not amplifying
the negative
speech. We're not
speech
creating
because
rabbit
it's good for
holes
engagement.
and all this kind of stuff. So that's where the problem is. It's not these little private groups, I don't think.
And then there was this week's social media summit at the White House, where the president said to a bunch of kind of conspiracy theory social media folks, the crap you guys think of is unbelievable. It is. It is, even though it's often believed. I guess they did not invite Facebook or Jack Dorsey from Twitter, anybody who's actually from one of the platforms to this, quote, social media summit. It was really just a bunch of...
It was mostly right-wing
pundits.
They had to pull a few at the last minute because they found all kinds of anti-Semitic and racist stuff.
And of course, Josh Hawley has proposed legislation that would eliminate Section 230, treat every political opinion equally, because of this. I don't think there's any evidence for, but there's a belief that's in the conservative circles that somehow Twitter and Facebook, are biased against conservatives. I don't see any evidence of that, but
the evidence is. This is actually one of the problems. You don't have insight into why they make the decisions they make. So, for example, let's say there's some...
Well, it is invisible, isn't it? The algorithms
let's say there's
are
an
invisible.
alt-right person who posts an alt-right type post and then gets banned. And then all of his followers, everybody's like, you see, it's conservative bias. But what they don't know is that Twitter might tell you, yeah, but they were also had this other account. They had these 5 other accounts where they were orchestrating bots and doing all this other stuff. And the combined effect of all those things were why we banned. But again, we have to take their word for it because algorithms are company secrets. They don't have to reveal them, and they won't. So the Facebooks and the Twitters are really on the spot. They're essentially the police and the judge and the jury and the everything. So
Trump's evidence that there's a bias against him is because in the old days he would tweet that the Obama campaign was spying on him, and it would, in his words, take off like a rocket. And now it doesn't so much anymore. And it's like, that's your evidence.
Yeah.
And he's got how many tens of millions of followers? I think it's pretty clear Twitter is not blocking followers.
The president has narcissistic personality disorder. Right. If Georgia were here, she could diagnose it for us. Yeah. But this whole summit seemed to be a place for him to vent and say
it's about him.
The fact that I don't have more followers than Obama is
should have more
the reason
followers.
why there's something has to change, and we're going to do something. And he was threatening.
You know what? I should have more followers.
So should I.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying. Caroline.
Tweets were printed on poster boards.
And aside.
That shows you, right? That's it right there. That's things boomers do. Print out tweets and put them on a poster board.
That's what they do in the group that she's in.
So Instagram used to be kind of the refuge. You would go to Instagram. Oh, it's nice. It's pictures. It's nice. And now Instagram is just as corrupt,
not so nice,
and messed up. Caroline, you've written about this. It's just as bad on Instagram, right? I haven't been in a while. So is it?
Yeah, they've had a problem with a rise of certain types of extremist hate accounts, with QAnon accounts, with anti-vaxxer accounts, and Instagram's been taking some steps to design infrastructure that blocks certain hashtags, in the same way that if you search, say, for things like pro-anorexia, those hashtags are blocked. And so they're working on doing the same kind of thing for anti-vaccinations and those types of ideologies. But I mean, the last time I checked, that feature hadn't rolled out. But I mean, yeah, it's just strange that there was a period when I went on Facebook and, you search for anti-vaxxer content and there were no results. Like the groups seemed to have been banned. But then when you went on Instagram, all of those accounts were still up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. In terms of the social media summit, I think one important thing to keep in mind is that he also invited, I think it was the CEO or whoever founded that social network Minds, MINDS, which for at least a certain period of time was a favored group among,
it was
Nazis.
It was like Gab.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think it speaks volumes. I think it goes beyond Trump being angry about himself and trying to send a political message by, obviously the types of people that he invited to that.
He has to see these
They know.
social networks as very powerful for the 2020 election, as places that they can use. I mean, he does. He uses Twitter very effectively.
Yeah.
And they have to see these as the place where the campaign is going to play out next year, right? That's where it's going to matter.
The truth is
that scares me the hell out of me.
Everybody talks about how Twitter is so influential in shaping public opinion, all this kind of stuff, and it just isn't true. What happens is the media picks up on Twitter.
But that's the respect it's true, is that, yeah, Twitter's only a couple 100 million people. It's not a big deal, but the media treats it as if it's the most important thing in the world. And if anything happens on Twitter, suddenly that's a story.
To be clear,
on the
editorial choices are what make everything that happens on Twitter such a big deal. Yeah. If the media completely ignored what happened on Twitter, they would have no effect. I mean, it's really not.
Have you seen this yet on Caroline on Instagram, where if you put comments in that are, I guess, bullying, that it will say, "Wait a minute, do you really want?
Right?
Do you want to say that? Let's keep Instagram a supportive place." Rethink that comment.
It's really interesting because I went to a meeting with Instagram a couple months ago when they were talking about the things that they were doing to try and combat bullying, and I think a large part of the difficulty in moderating that type of thing is, I mean, A, defining bullying, and B, figuring out a way to do that isn't preemptive. I mean,
they don't want to censor it; they just want to.
Right. I mean, even in the example that they used, I think they said, like, oh, if you're using the words, I mean, it's clear that, like, the words like ugly and stupid triggered that sort of pop up to say, oh, do you want to say that? But is that really are those really the mechanisms that people use to, like, make others feel excluded? They were talking about also, like, induced FOMO, which is... it's difficult to define. It's basically where the example that they gave.
Instagram is made of FOMO.
It's made out of FOMO.
That's the problem. Like the whole idea is that if you post something at a certain place and a person may not have been invited, and you at the person and you say, "Oh, don't you wish you were here?" Do people actually do that? I think that was that was one of the main questions that I had coming out of that. But
don't you think they do? Haven't you ever seen stuff like that? I'll tell you where I see it. Every time I go to a concert, now, most of the selfie taking is the person turned away from the artist, videoing the artist singing and them in the picture. And what's the whole point of doing that? To show all your friends what a great time, how good your life is. I'm at the concert. If it used to be you'd video the singer, right? Because you love this singer, you're going to like the video. Now it's look at me at the concert. That's FOMO. That's induced FOMO.
Right. So they clearly were trying to make it seem as if that sort of thing is malicious.
Oh, it's not malicious. It's just neurotic. It's just narcissistic.
I'm hesitant almost to judge people that want to, like, document those types of experiences.
You're right. Yeah.
So, you know, if you want to share that, if that's what makes you feel good, if you want to make sure you capture something that made you happy, I'm hesitant to be like, oh, that's bad. But when you're trying to define what actually is bad and what is harmful, I don't know. I mean, it seems like a lot of the social ways in which people try and exclude and alienate and make other people feel bad, I mean, that's not something that an algorithm can easily pick up.
No, it's subtle.
Right. And this is only rolling out on the English-speaking part of Instagram. So, I mean, this is only going to be affecting, like, a marginal part of their audience anyway.
Surely we're talking about children, though, right? I mean, adults don't, like... So one of the problems they have is that they talked about how some bullying victims, if they block somebody, it's like a big problem because they're with the bully every day. In other words, they go to school with the bully. And so this even blocking and the mechanisms that exist for people to protect themselves don't work because of the fact that people are, you know, in real communication. That sounds to me like high school or junior high or something like that. I mean,
I have to say, when I was posting stuff on Instagram, I would actually consciously not try to show off on Instagram because it felt like it was about like, look how great my life is. And I was concerned. You know that when you're looking at these people's lives, that's just the slice that makes it look good.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's life has equal amounts of bad stuff and good stuff. And to just put the pictures of the good stuff. So I try to take pictures of all the bad stuff that happened to me to make people feel better.
It's very freeing to have low standards.
Like Leah's going to the bathroom again.
It's very freeing to have low standards. That's going to go on my tombstone, actually. Thank you, Caroline.
Wow, you're welcome.
We are very pleased to have Caroline with us. Caroline Haskins is a reporter for Motherboard and Vice, a great site. In fact, I want to talk about Palantir when we come back because you just did a great piece on this software, this Palantir software. It's really kind of scary. Also, Mike Elgin off the road and in our studios. Great to have you, elgin.com. And, of course, you could always subscribe to Mike's nice book. Yes. Although there's a lot of FOMO for me.
Yes.
Of you in Barcelona, drinking wine, eating cheese.
If you want to see an example of this FOMO we've been talking about, go to my nice book.
What a life he's
Cheese
having.
is beautiful, though, isn't it?
Oh, there's nothing like cheese.
Yeah.
That's definitely the things baby boomers say, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's in that. There's nothing like cheese.
I'm not going to say you're wrong.
No, I know I'm not wrong. I know. I'm the poster child. Our show today brought to you by Worldwide Technology, WWT. They began with their Advanced Technology Center 10 years ago. The lab contains more than $500 million in equipment from hundreds of OEMs. Everything you might want to use in your business: Cisco, NetApp, VMware, emerging disruptors too. Maybe things you just recently heard about and you're curious about, like Tanium and Equinix and Expanse. They're all in there. And because when you're running an enterprise, nothing exists in a vacuum. They test it all, in a lab that gets you an example of how they're going to interact, how they're going to work together. WWT, Worldwide Technology, is your trusted partner. Been with you over the years. Many of their customers have been with them for more than a decade because they know WWT is where they can go to get the answers they need to make sure their business runs right. And this Advanced Technology Center is something else. It's amazing. An incubator for IT innovation. And you can use it. This is the best part. They've got hundreds of on-demand integrated solution labs that you can use, representing the newest advances in things like flash storage and software-defined networking, network automation, endpoint security architectures. Before you try a product, before you install a product, you can learn about it. Of course, WWT's own engineers are using it all the time to spin up proof of concepts, pilots. Using the sandbox, customers can confidently see and choose the right solutions. But you can use it too. Lab as a service, they call it. It's a dedicated lab space within the Advanced Technology Center that customers can use to perform programmatic testing using that incredible $500 million technology ecosystem WWT's already built. And there's more coming in all the time. And it's completely virtual. You don't have to go to St. Louis. You could take advantage of the ATC's unique benefits anywhere in the world, any time of the day or night, 24/7. Later this summer, WWT is going to launch a new digital platform that gives you hands-on access to more than 200 lab environments. This is a big deal. If you're looking at enterprise purchases, if you're looking at setting up networks, if you're in IT, if you just want to understand how stuff works, learn more about WWT, the ATC. Sign up for pre-launch access to their new on-demand lab platform at wwt.com/twit. wwt.com/twit. WWT simplifies the complex, delivering business and technology outcomes around the world. Worldwide Technology. We thank them so much for supporting Twit. wwt.com/twit. We thank you for supporting Twit by visiting that address. wwt.com/twit. Well, we kind of did the Facebook walk, the Instagram walk. Prime Day tomorrow. This is the eve of Prime Day. Is everybody excited? Yeah? Woof.
Loaded question.
First of all, not everything in Prime Day is a deal, right?
Right.
Wirecutter does a great job. The New York Times Wirecutter. They do a great job of looking at Prime Day deals and comparing them to other prices to see if they are deals. And oh, by the way, here's Here's the best Prime Day deals for 2019. Notice they're not all on Amazon. In fact, Walmart is having their own version of Prime Day, and they're doing it, I think, for 3 or 4 days. Target's doing it. Even Nordstrom later this week will be having their version of Prime Day. I think rapidly the middle of the year is going to become the week for like Christmas. They used to call it Christmas in July.
Yeah.
eBay as well.
eBay too.
Wired magazine called Amazon Prime Day a bacchanal of modestly discounted ephemera.
Crap that you wouldn't ever buy. I like what eBay's doing because eBay is, they're calling it crash deals in case Amazon crashes. Because I guess, did Amazon crash last year during Prime Day?
Unbelievable.
I don't know what to say about this except I'm staying home tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I don't want to.
I'm coming to work. You guys have much better bandwidth here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we do. We have a lot of bandwidth. Do you buy stuff, Caroline, on Prime Day? Do you go crazy? Is that where you get your Battleship deals?
Yeah, I've not participated in Prime Day. I think mainly because, this year, last year, definitely, there have been different types of demonstrations at warehouses, and people.
Oh, yeah, Minnesota's shutting it down,
there.
shutting down the warehouse tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, that's good. I mean, you got to shut them all down if you're going to shut it down. They just route around you. It's like the internet. Minnesota's down. Let's just use it. Let's get it from Nebraska.
Here's a really interesting thing that happened to me regarding Amazon. Very bizarre. Last year, November, December, something like that, I went to log in and it said, your account has been terminated. And I was like, okay, that's terrible. So I've been calling a couple, 3, 4 times a month trying to get my Amazon account back. And the reason I want it back is because I'm an author.
You don't have an Amazon account?
Correct.
How do you live?
I do, but I don't. So I have I'm an author, so I have a book going. This is being sold. I get checks from them. I've done some Amazon Associates stuff. I get checks from that. But they couldn't figure it out. I kept calling Amazon. They're like, we have no idea. We can't figure it out. And then we finally figured it out. They had a high-level person look into it. I was one of the first, like you were, Audible subscribers.
And your Audible account.
I subscribed in 2000 and I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I subscribed in 2000.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And so I recently canceled it because my wife had one.
Oh, it was tied to your Amazon account.
Yes, and they couldn't figure it out. But it's basically they just terminated my account. Yeah. So they're still trying to activate it.
Can you get it back?
They don't know.
Is there any reason why you care? Why don't you just set up a new account?
Because I need access to my book.
Oh, all your affiliate fees. And
all that. Yeah, there's all kinds of data in there that I need to.
This is the new digital dilemma.
Yeah.
What do you do if you're? I mean, it's bad enough if people lose their Google accounts, but if you lose your Amazon account, do you really exist?
Not really, Leo. I'm shut out of Prime Day. I mean, for starters.
Oh my God, the horror!
I have to pay full price on everything.
So that's interesting that you brought that up, Caroline, because it is true. We heard nothing but horror stories about people who work at Amazon warehouses. Amazon announced, and now they're already doing it in our neck of the woods, next day delivery, which is going to make it even worse in the warehouses. I had an Amazon driver deliver a book at 9 o'clock last night. I mean, this poor person's probably been out in the truck all day.
Was it a little van?
Yeah, it's one of those those new Amazon vans.
The headset Caroline is wearing was placed in an Amazon locker by an Amazon worker at 9 p.m. last night, just so she could be on the show today.
Wow. See?
Yeah.
See?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like
in an ideal world, it would be nice to. At times, the convenience of it is really
right.
I mean, hard to live without.
This is the modern dilemma. We want all our conveniences, and we kind of know in the back of our mind that it's due to the suffering of some other human.
Right. I mean, in terms of the price, a lot of times, especially if you're buying things in bulk, like there have been times that I've bought like food or certain types of food or cleaning supplies in bulk because that's really the only like money efficient way to do it. But I think the important thing to keep in mind is that with Amazon, it's not just something that affects Amazon warehouses. I mean, this is something that's creating.
Oh yeah, I mean, going to
really urgent
Walmart's no better.
Like Walmart, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much any place that's relying on warehouses. I mean, it's.
But what do? You live on artisanal pickles from Williamsburg for the rest of your life? I mean, you can't.
You can try.
What would
You can try to
Brooklyn?
go to,
What
like,
would
the
Brooklyn do? You only shop local merchants that have handcrafted your goods.
The worst part is they're going to solve the plight of their workers by replacing them with robots. And so, is that better? It's hard. It's.
So I thought, oh, this is Amazon announced that they're going to spend.
They're going to retrain.
Yeah, what
like
is it?
maniacs, which is
$100 million. I can't remember what it was.
It sounds like a good plan to me. They're going to, it's like 700,000 or something like that. They're going to retrain people nationwide for
$700 million to retrain 1/3 of its workforce. But if you do the math, it's like $1,200 per person. It's barely enough to send somebody to school for a week. They're going to retrain 100,000 workers by 2025 because they say, well, these people are going to be out of work.
And Amazon is very
robots
totalitarian in their PR approach. If you're in the press, you know this, that they're very difficult to work with, and they are masters at spinning stories in their favor. And they talk about retraining, and then they throw out some examples to get your mind thinking about advanced degrees and like doing all this kind of stuff. But really, they're going to be retraining people, factory workers, to be drivers, and they're going to be
because how many of those people, I don't know, but how many of those people can become coders, and how many coders do we need?
Exactly. It's a sleight of hand. They're going to be doing a lot of training like every other company. Every company does training.
The $7,000 a worker, which actually is decent. It's $1,200 a year for 5 years. So that's why it's.
Bloomberg had an interesting analysis of it.
They said, breaking down the numbers, they'll spend $700 million, 100,000 employees by 2025, $1,077 a person annually. According to an estimate from the Association for Talent Development, a trade group, the average organization spends already $1,296 per employee annually on training. So in effect, Amazon's committing to spending less.
And on its face, I don't believe that that's an apples to apples comparison. They say this is how much that Amazon's going to spend. How much of that is on leasing buildings and getting projectors, stuff like that.
So you think it's just a PR move? It's not a genuine effort to retrain?
Well, no. I think they're doing. Every company, every enterprise has to train. They have to do training.
All right.
And I think they're trying to get a lot of credit for something that
is it possible for Amazon to treat its workforce humanely?
Absolutely.
They make enough money; they could do that, right?
Well, the prices would go up. I mean, this is why things are cheap on Amazon. They're squeezing.
Same with Walmart, right?
They're squeezing everything. Yeah, so it's possible.
Right. I mean, a $15 minimum wage, I mean, for most people still isn't a livable wage. And I think in terms of retraining, the details are really important here. I mean, is this something that's going to be happening in addition to / outside of work hours? I mean, for people who might have to work like more than one job, or for people who have a family, I mean, that might not be feasible. And for what? To stay within the same company? Are they actually going to be making more money in their retrained positions, or are the conditions going to be comparable? I don't know. I mean, it seems like at this stage, like those kinds of details are unclear.
I feel bad because this show used to be all about how great technology is, and it's making our lives better, and you're going to have robots, and the cars are going to drive themselves, and pretty soon you won't have to wear glasses anymore. And now it's all about dystopia. Is that what happened? Or is it just me?
I don't think. Well, I don't think
maybe it's just me.
I don't think the story about Amazon's training workers is that much of a technology story. It's a technology company, and there's some
that's partly what's
elements
happened.
To it,
is
basically
that
this is a type of capitalism.
It's a business story.
Yeah, it's a business story, and
well, let's do a technology story. Okay. Amazon is building a robot, but not for the warehouse. It's a home robot with Amazon's Echo built in.
When I heard about this, I thought it was going to be this little tiny robot that goes, but it's waist high. It's like the size of a toddler.
That's so you could put your beer on its head.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a bad joke. I'm sorry I said that.
I've been to places. I've been to cocktail parties in Sonoma where they have robots.
They bring you your tray of hors d'oeuvres.
Well, actually, one of the things that they had. This was at the Future of Food conference in Sonoma. They had robots with a tray on top. And they were carrying little desserts that were pastry versions of robots with trays on top.
That's little.
And they had little desserts on top of those.
Dessert inception.
It was amazing.
Were the desserts on top of the robot desserts?
It was desserts all the way up. It was amazing.
The robot is called Vesta, and they say we can't yet mass produce Vesta. They had hoped to reveal it this year, but it's just not ready. Now, this isn't. We had an advertiser, Bosch, who had a robot called Kuro. Remember Kuro? It was a little robot that would wander around. It was kind of like an Amazon Alexa on wheels. They canceled that project. I wonder if. I don't think it's hard to make. I think it's hard to find a market.
Yeah.
Does anybody really want a little robot Amazon Echo that wanders around?
Yes.
I mean, it's like, it sounds cute, but I feel like I'm struggling to understand this here. So let's say you have an apartment like mine that isn't that big. I mean, this is a matter of walking literally 3 steps to wherever like the Echo is. Or let's say you have an actually big house. Like, is it going to go up the stairs? Probably not.
Right.
Like,
it can't. Right.
Right. I don't know. It just seems why. I mean, I think the idea of having an Echo on a Roomba, I mean, that's cute, I guess. I think
Jeff
Roombas
Bezos
are generally
Instagrammed his
cute.
kids had taped an Echo to a Roomba. He Instagrammed that a year ago.
I think he's blaming the kids.
Yeah, I won't speak about Jeff, but I think his kids are genius for doing that. Everything every product should just be placed on top of a Roomba, and it would instantly make it better.
I think all animals, especially house cats, should be placed on top of a Roomba.
I mean, the reality is that, damn it, we boomers were promised robots in a home, right? I mean, we never got them. So anybody who's working on that, I think it's great. The problem is that Amazon is a privacy nightmare in your home. But if you ignore that part of it, it's like, I'm glad that a company because look what Amazon did with the virtual assistant appliances, or what we now call smart speakers, right? Nobody believed in that stuff when they came out with the Echo.
That's true. People said the same things about the Echo that we're saying now about this robot.
People are like, oh, you don't need it.
Who wants that? That's silly.
It's really changing the consumer technology world in a major way. So I would love to see, virtual assistant robot type things. I just would prefer they didn't come from Amazon.
So I mentioned,
I think, no matter what, I mean, you're going to be having like the types of security issues. I mean, the same sorts of issues with like people being creeped out about humans transcribing and having access to voice recordings. I mean, that's a shared problem with Amazon. I mean, it seems like whoever is making these speakers, I mean, if you're having a device that's listening to you in your home and has access to literally everything that's going on, I mean, that's going to be a security concern. That's going to be a privacy concern, no matter which company is behind it. I mean, with companies like Google and Amazon, I mean, it's even more of a concern considering like the large amount of data they already have about you and your customer profile. But yeah, I don't know if it's strictly an Amazon problem.
Just to be clear, this is a much bigger potential risk than it sounds. It's not that this thing will be on wheels and roll around listening. It will be 3D mapping your home. It will be videotaping your furniture, and it'll be finding out who else is in the house, which will be recognized through face recognition.
And don't be surprised the next time you go on Amazon if it says, your couch is kind of
a little shabby.
Would you like a new Amazon's Choice couch?
This couch will fit perfectly in a little space, and this rug will really tie the room together.
Really? You think they're going to do that? I mean, how valuable is that to Amazon?
Infinitely valuable. I think they sit there. I think Jeff Bezos sits in his basement at 3 o'clock in the morning seething because he has all this data from Amazon Echo products, but he just doesn't know what's in the other room. What's in there? Who's in there? Like, I mean, I really think that's, and he's like, I know, we'll put wheels on this thing and it'll roll around, have access to the whole house where you're sleeping. It'll go in the bathroom and go through your medicine cabinet. I mean, who knows? But it's lots and lots of data that Amazon sells everything.
Yeah.
They sell everything, and they want to see what you got. I think this is one of the reasons for this version of the Echo that takes pictures of your outfit. The whole point is to see what's in your closet. Yeah. See what's in your closet.
It didn't like any of my outfits. None of them.
And you said, Echo, don't look if you don't like it. But anyway.
I sent it to Stacy. Stacy Higginbotham has my Echo look. I'm sure it likes her outfits much better.
This week in law, I'm blanking on it. Denise Howell is super into it. Like she posts.
Well, she has a great look, and she's very put together.
Yeah, and she's creating FOMO on Instagram every day with this thing.
Another reason I'm glad I'm not. So I have a new kick I've been thinking about, because we talk a lot. There's a lot of energy spent about artificial intelligence. I think Elon Musk and others have said, oh, no, it's the Terminators are coming. And this whole notion that AI, the fear of AI is that it's going to somehow at some point gain consciousness, and it's going to think, we don't need the humans, it's going to wipe us out, or it's going to turn us into batteries as it did in the Matrix or something like that. And I've read a couple people, most recently Yuval Noah Harari in his 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, who said, no one has ever demonstrated that if you get better at AI, that at some point you'll leap this gap into consciousness.
Yeah.
We don't know where consciousness comes from. There's no evidence that you feed a machine a lot of information, and it becomes a great chess player, and then suddenly it goes, I think I'm going to eat Garry Kasparov for lunch. It doesn't jump to that consciousness thing. We don't know where consciousness comes from. Maybe someday we'll be able to. So I'm going to submit this is my new thing, that consciousness is not the threat of AI. The threat of AI is the humans who use AI. Now, you've been talking about this a little bit on Motherboard. There was a piece in Slate this morning that creeped me out. It turns out license plate reading software has gotten so cheap, and it will work with $100 cameras, that it's being installed everywhere. License plate readers, they give an example of a housing complex where people are using it to make sure that, you're not abusing your rental agreement, that they are everywhere. It's about $100 for the software on a $100 camera. Cities, the city I live in, Petaluma, I noticed was putting up cameras on every traffic light, every street light. Yeah. And I realized they're not valuable if you have to have somebody sitting and watching them. If you've got 400 cameras in a town of 50,000 people, what do you just got 800 officers looking at them? No, you put license plate reading software on it. Yeah. And then if you want to know where Leo was last night, Yeah. Exactly. And this is an example, to me, Palantir is another one. And I'm really interested that you, Caroline, have been able to break through, because Palantir has been almost a legendarily secret company in Silicon Valley. Yeah. Funded by Peter Thiel. Alex Karp is its secretive CEO. And we knew it was some sort of, well, what is it? I don't know what we knew.
Yeah, I guess the best way to describe it is that it's an aggregator. It takes data from all different types of sources, and it organizes it and is able to find connections in ways that, if you're just a regular human analyst, you might not be able to do it. Or if you're just a person with access to 5 different databases and you're looking to use something from there, that's not actionable, just having all this unstructured data. So that's Palantir's role. It organizes it, and it's able to make charts and sort through very sensitive data very easily, as easy as making a search.
This is what's worrying me about AI. It's not that it's going to become conscious and want to get rid of the humans. It's that there are humans who will be using this. You wrote that 300 California cities, Northern California cities, and I wouldn't be surprised if Petaluma is one of them, are using Palantir. Why did Petaluma put up all those cameras? To gather data. And what are they going to do with the data?
I think the noteworthy thing here... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No.
Yeah. The noteworthy thing here is that I started this whole thing by sending public information requests to individual cities, and almost all of them came back empty. The only one that came back with information was through the NCRIC, the Northern California Regional Intelligence Center. So even if you're a citizen living in one of these cities and you want to find out about it, there's really no way for you to know. Only by filing a public record request to this regional center do you realize, because here's the thing, police officers can request this type of data from the NCRIC, but there's no paper trail for those individual cities, and there's really no transparency for the citizens that are actually living there.
So this is run through the Department of Homeland Security. Do they say it's to cut down on terrorism?
Right. So on their website, they claim that most of their efforts are focused on major drug operations and terrorism operations. But at the same time, they will pretty much investigate anything that a local police department requests help with. And this could be, literally any type of crime. It could be a robbery. It could be a domestic assault. It could be really any type of investigation that a local police department is operating. So this isn't just a let's catch people trying to commit like a major act of terrorism. This is, local operations. And this is, they have a massive amount of data on the people that are living in those areas.
On the one hand, I would say, that's good. We're going to be a safer city in Petaluma. By the way, our county is one of the 14 participating Northern California counties in NC.
Yep.
RIC.
There it is.
It's going to be safer. It's going to be safer here.
I don't know. I think that this is, it sort of reminds me about the arguments that people make with respect to privacy. Like, I have nothing to hide, so I shouldn't have any reason to worry about this, know?
I don't buy that one. Yeah.
I mean,
if you have nothing to hide, leave the bathroom door open.
I've tried that argument. People don't like that.
There's reason. It's not that you have something to hide. It's not that you're a criminal. It's just that we deserve to live privately.
The risk here is the slippery slope. You mentioned that, why are they installing these cameras in Petaluma? And it doesn't matter why. Once they have the cameras, they can later decide, hey, we have all these cameras. Why don't we do X, Y, Z? So it's really the infrastructure is just another step in a direction.
I feel like we're sliding down this slope.
Well, here's another example. I just wrote a piece for Fast Company about emotion technology in cars, where cars will be able to read your emotions, understand what your mindset is, understand what's happening in the car. This is part of the, self-driving cars are like supercomputers on wheels with all these sensors pointing outward. What we're not talking enough about is the sensors pointing inward at the drivers and everybody else. But what's interesting is that Fictiva is in the lead with this technology of being able to read emotions of drivers, and they're not doing it by installing cameras in cars. They're using the cameras already installed in cars, and they're just tapping into that feed. It's like a after the fact kind of an idea where it's like, well, these high-end cars have cameras. Why don't we just read people's emotions with them? And so this is what's
why do they want the emotions? I mean, I can understand for self-driving vehicles, it's important to know what that other driver is going to do. That doesn't bother me.
Well, the
humans are the big problem with self-driving vehicles.
Well, the biggest thing is this is going to go online before they're fully self-driving. But most urgently, Europe has enacted legislation saying that by 2021, all cars sold in Europe will have to have basic reading function. They have to tell whether the driver's falling asleep, whether the driver's drunk.
Yeah.
This is a
Cadillac just put that in their CTS for their autopilot feature.
Yes,
because as you know, same with Tesla, you got to keep your hand on the wheel. And you have to keep your eyes on the road. It used to be that it was enough to have your hand on the wheel, but Cadillac actually has a camera that sees where you're looking, so that if you look down or away from the road, while the autopilot's on, it actually vibrates your seat and then eventually disengages it. To trick it, I had to cover my eyes, but I was too scared to
driving?
Well, that was the thing. I was too scared to actually do that, so I did like this. And I had peered through my fingers, and it did.
What if you wear sunglasses?
Yeah, but exactly. I mean, it does. It's looking at you driving.
Well, the best thing...
And if they were able to get that, and I guess with OnStar, they probably are getting that information.
But I love that technology because you can be able to look at a store and say, is that open? And they'll know what you're looking at, and it'll say, oh, the so-and-so Starbucks is not open right now.
So, Caroline, you filed a public records request and got the Palantir user manual for cops.
Right. So
wow.
It seems like, this was a specific user manual that seemed to be designed for cops that were operating in like the West, North California area. And full disclosure, the manual was almost unreadable. It took me several hours to be able to parse all of this through.
Because of jargon?
Because of jargon, because it was just poorly organized. It was poorly worded.
Oh, that's encouraging.
They did not define any of the terms. They just sort of said that the way it was organized was, here's how you make a search. And then they sort of introduced different charting functions.
By the way, this is confidential and proprietary, not for distribution. So please close your eyes.
Another thing boomers say, in my day, we used to go through dumpsters to find that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Well, so searching for records in Palantir. Start in the graph application. This is the worst. This manual, you're right, Caroline. This is horrible.
It is like unreadable.
Click the gear icon. Oh my God.
Right. I think it's the best way to describe it is in terms of what you can do and what information that you're starting with. If you're starting with just a name, you can get I mean, if they have it in their data systems, if they have it in police record management systems, if they have it through other types of private data that they obtain, things that could have access to people's email addresses or bank account numbers, really sensitive information like that. I mean, this is all pulled instantly just from a simple name search.
And if you know somebody's license plate, and you use this example in your article, you can know where they, because of license plate readers and cameras everywhere, you can know pretty much everywhere somebody's been and when for any time period.
Right. So basically you set the radius and you say you're looking for a particular license plate number that's traveled in like, I don't know, let's say 100-mile radius or more. And then you can set a date range if you want. And since they have timestamps and they have location stamps, you can get all of that information. And then they also have a picture of the car and the license plate itself. So all of this information is stored just by searching a license plate number. With a name,
this is, I mean, we've all seen this on TV, on NCIS and stuff, but really this is even much better than anything. With a name, you can get a person's email address, phone number, current and previous addresses, bank accounts, social security numbers, business relationships, family relationships, license information, height, weight, eye color. If it's in an agency's database, you can get it. So that's what Palantir's doing. Do they talk about the sources of this information? Are they getting it, some of it obviously from DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles? Is it all government agencies? Is it Google and Facebook?
See, the NCRIC specifically, it's a fusion center. So they would use Palantir to take the different police, like local police records. So this would be like crime, arrest, etc. data. And Palantir also says that they get data really vaguely from government and federal agencies. So this could be where you're getting information about like license plate data, for instance, where you could get information about like birthday, whether you're married, whether you have a business logged in your name, that kind of thing.
So some of it's public records. Yeah.
Right. Some of it's public records. In terms of email addresses or bank account records, I mean, that would be something that would have to be acquired privately in most situations.
Yeah. Do we have any evidence that they, for instance, in their manual, they show you examples of different databases you can search, including ALPR is automatic license plate readers. You could do LAPD, LASD, border crossing vehicle query, DMV vehicle query, national license plate reader vehicle query. And that's just a portion of it. I imagine this would scroll down quite a way.
Yeah. It's an incomplete list, and it's also with only a sample search.
Right.
A lot of the examples that they had, you could see that the search query was Palantir, and then they had like example profiles that were named things like John Bad Guy Smith. But still, you're right.
Bad Guy's my middle name.
Yeah. You can see on the right, if you choose a particular profile, like let's say you search John Bad Guy Smith and there's 10 people in the area with that same name, you can click on one of them and you can see the specific details that distinguish him from the other John Bad Guy Smiths in the area.
And by the way, for you at home, if there's an area with 10 Bad Guy Smiths there, don't go to that area.
Stay away.
It's a bad guy area.
Yeah.
Very dangerous.
I like the icons they use for John.
They're riveting.
I think that's the Hamburglar. I'm sorry, but I think that's the Hamburglar.
So Leo, you should subscribe to this because you always talk to the audience and find out who's coming. You would know before they even got here who was coming.
So,
and did you know the email address downwiththeus.org?
Say again?
That's the downwiththeus.org. That's the email domain.
With the US?
Oh yeah, JBG01 at downwiththeus.org, because as you know, any malefactor doesn't like the America that we know. I'm scared. Now, let me ask you, because this came out a couple of days ago. Was there any reaction to your article?
Palantir emailed me once and said, why did you say that we didn't respond to multiple requests for comment? And I said, because you didn't. That's pretty much the only thing that I've heard from Palantir. In terms of the response, I mean, I guess what sort of surprised me is that I generally had an understanding of, sort of how Palantir worked, but in terms of getting the visuals and in terms of seeing the actual manual, it seems like that had It seems like that had an effect on people because, I mean, it's one thing to hear that there's like this secret, omnipotent data company that's operating in the shadows with regional level governments and investigative agencies, but it's another one to see that you can just search your name and find out virtually everything about yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And this is accessible to any law enforcement agency in Northern California, pretty much. It's only law enforcement, though, right?
Right. So it would be law enforcement, and any local police department within those counties would be able to tap into those resources.
Do you know who decides that that's who gets to see it, or if anyone is in a position to make an exception to that? Like, for example, mall cops, maybe, or
I hope Paul Bart cannot get this.
Mall cops aren't they usually private security forces?
Yeah.
Right?
No private security forces.
My point is this a matter of law, or is this company policy that they decide who gets to see it and who doesn't?
Right. So I think that's one important thing to keep in mind is that, Palantir is the infrastructure, but exactly how it gets used, that's all in the hands of the regional intelligence agency. What's important is how the data that would not have been actionable is made actionable. And it's put into the hands of
without
just
a warrant.
Other
Right.
Right. Well, in terms of, I don't really get into the article in terms of like, you do have to enter, for instance, like a case number in order to make a search in the ALPR database. And in terms of the people search, at least in that version of it, it's an open field. So when you're saying the reason for your search, it seems like you can just type in words and that'll be accepted.
Type the reason for the search in the search purpose field. This could be a case number or a suspect name.
Right.
Or I'm just bored. I'm sitting here. I thought I'd find out what my ex is up to.
This is kind of timely because this is what ICE is using this weekend to track down undocumented immigrants and arrest them and deport them. The big issue for me, and I have to say, on the one hand, you want law enforcement to have good tools protected by courts and warrants. Mm-hmm. But you also want to have some oversight in the data. And the big concern for me is this is a private company. Data sources may be corrupt, may be inaccurate.
Insecure.
We know face recognition is often used in these cases. We know that's often full of false positives.
Like the NCRIC does have access to facial recognition. This was I believe it was in Oakland. The head of the Oakland Police Department submitted a letter to the town because they're going to be voting on whether or not to ban facial recognition, I think on the 16th. And they said, based on this ban, we wouldn't be able to access the facial recognition through the NCRIC. So I think what's important to remember here is that this data can be combined with all different other types of databases as well. And for instance, one of the documents that I got back was how to use Palantir with Thomson Reuters Clear, which is similarly a giant database tool for police. And I think that what you were getting at before is really important to keep in mind that, the way that you act on data is only as good as the data itself. And, we know that the state of policing in this country isn't perfect. So, I think the important thing to keep in mind is how this could be used against marginalized populations. And what we're seeing with the ICE raids, that's pretty much a worst case scenario.
I'm looking at your table of where this data comes from. And
So I think it's important to note that this is through the DOJ, and this is in general how fusion centers work, because Palantir itself is incredibly vague about exactly.
They may be getting it from additional sources, but this one includes amusement parks, cruise lines, hotels, motels,
gaming industry,
sports authority, securities firm,
gamers beware,
ISPs, email providers, daycare centers, mental health records, physician-patient records,
veterinary
records.
It says veterinary.
It knows all about your dog.
Spaniel.
So this is a very broad net. Now, this is the DOJ, but this is their guidelines.
Right. And this is So
the Palantir, I would bet, because it's a private business, it goes beyond this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what's important to note, the NCRIC, this is a DHS entity, and if you have some sort of like subpoena or you can request certain types of data from these private agencies, then this automatically can get pulled into Palantir, which organizes the data in a way that perhaps it would not have been able to use to have been used before.
See, sometimes people say, oh, it's public data, big deal. But we've seen already in many ways how public data is changed by companies like Palantir. Every time you buy or sell a house, it's recorded at the county seat and in a big book. And basically, you'd have to go to the county building to find out who lives at that address. But now, because so many data companies find this valuable, they send people down to county seats. They record all this. They put it in a database.
You know who else finds this valuable? Russia, when they're trying to assassinate a political dissident, or China, when they want to track. I mean, what are the chances that this is not a target for hacking by
oh my God, yeah,
the Chinese government and the Russian government? The chances are zero. Either they're trying and failing or they're trying and succeeding to get this access so they can track their dissidents. It's a real problem.
Yeah. I think my major concern here is how this is going to be used by police departments against like bodies that are already at risk. In particular, like people of color living in these regions. It's only, I think, like I said earlier, it's these investigations are only as good as the data that's informing them. And, for instance, I wrote an article a couple months ago about police departments that were using Predpol, which is a predictive policing software. And dozens of police departments around the country were using this, and there was no disclosure at all publicly about this. And what it claims to do is take crime records, crimes that were reported or crimes that were acted upon, and put it into this database and basically tell police, go back and look at those places. So obviously the question that you have to be asking there is how good are those crime report records? Obviously not every crime gets reported, and the types of crimes that are prosecuted or like investigated by police, that's going to vary place by place, and there's going to be individual bias that comes into play there. So there's a lot of like systemic factors that plays into the way that this data is used. And I think, Predpol, that's another good example. And that's been combined with Palantir in places like Los Angeles. Predpol and Palantir have been used simultaneously at the same time. That's a huge amount of power put in the hands of police that at times have a contentious relationship with their citizens, and, those underlying problems aren't being addressed. And at the same time, we have these like amplifying forces that are making it easier and easier to do these super powered investigations in a way that we've never, ever seen before.
Wait till AI is applied. We were talking about the power of AI in the hands of various people, but you could turn this data loose with the right kind of AI to essentially do AI-enhanced phishing expeditions and just hand you a list of all the crimes. I can guarantee you they're doing that right now inside Palantir. I guarantee you that's the most valuable thing. Data... We now know data is hugely valuable, and that the difference is that by connecting data from a disparate variety of sources, you can infer connections that you couldn't see before. And that is, to me, that I don't know if this makes us safer. I don't feel like it does make us safer. I'm all for police having the tools they need to track down criminals. But I don't think this makes us safer in the long run. Every time there's advances in technology, political and police authorities always use those advances to change the balance of power between the citizens and themselves. And so I've always argued for, if they can track us, we should be able to track them. If they can record us, we should be able to record them. If there's a video camera in an interrogation room, you should also have a video camera. There is a disparity in power that is, you can't, I don't care if you can record everything. But it's growing because of technology, and that's not right. We should always push back, and, technology is good, but not when the technology, when one side of the equation has a monopoly. Yes, police want to do their jobs. They want to fight crime. We want them to fight crime. We want less crime. All of that stuff, that's all true. But everything like policing has to be balanced against other considerations. That's why we have a constitution. Exactly. And that's why we have rights, and that's why we have all that stuff. But if it's being circumvented through technology that nobody's really paying attention to, that's a problem. Let's take a break. Mike Elgin is here, elgin.com, the nice book.
see nice pictures
Of books.
Of books, no, of people, of Mike, his family. He's at Mike Elgin on Twitter, and his gastronomadic adventures continue in Barcelona this fall in September.
That's right.
Gastronomad.net. Take a look. It's going to be amazing.
If you like delicious food and wonderful wine. And
Yeah, if you're
company.
one of those people, I
Yeah.
guess, you'd probably enjoy it.
weirdos.
Caroline Haskins also here. Great work at Motherboard. It's amazing what a public information request can do. I think it's just a matter of time before we cut those off. That Freedom of Information Act, that is anti-American. That is a problem. People like Caroline going rooting around.
My favorite thing.
Did you ever do dumpster diving for this kind of stuff?
No. On my computer.
You're the modern reporter now. We don't have to go in the dumpsters anymore. Mike, that's what things baby boomers do.
Yes.
Hey, I got to show you something. Wait a minute, I'm going to take off my shirt here. I got to show you something.
He's really a superhero.
I am
This
a
is a job
superhero.
for...
I am shilling the fox out. I even have Fox Mint Mobile socks. Fox socks, ladies and gentlemen. I have been converted to Mint Mobile. Let me tell you, this is the best network for people with smartphones ever. Mintmobile.com/twin. If you're still using one of the big 4 wireless providers, take a look at your bill. It's cray-cray. My Verizon phone is $90 a month, and I was, I thought, oh, this is a good deal. Unlimited data and texts and phone calls. But they're inflating the price because they have those big retail stores. They've got all the hidden fees. Mint Mobile provides the same exact premium network coverage you're used to at a fraction of the cost because they've eliminated the middleman. Everything is online, no retail locations. And I got to say, this is the modern way to do a cell phone, a smartphone. Every plan on Mint Mobile's riding on the T-Mobile network. So if you've got T-Mobile in your neck of the woods, this is a great solution. It comes with unlimited nationwide text and talk. And you stop paying for unlimited data you never use. You choose between plans with 3, 8, or 12 gigabytes of 4G LTE data. I actually paid $300. I bought a year ahead of time because I love that. That's a great price. 12 gigabytes a month. I'm never going to use that up. But if I ever do use more, you can buy it at a very affordable price. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. I love it too, by the way, the OnePlus 7 Pro. It's my new favorite phone. And I go around town. I do Harry Potter, Wizards Unite, lots of data, but I still am well under 12. And it's costing me $25 a month. It's amazing. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. You can keep your phone number along with all your existing contacts. All you're ditching, that old wireless bill. I am such a fan of the Fox. I can't believe. In fact, so much so that I have accounts with all the major carriers. I'm going to dump them all. Because why not? Mintmobile.com/twit. Get your new wireless plan. $15 a month. It'll be shipped to your door for free. You get the SIM card. Great support, by the way. These are, you're not suddenly out of luck with support. They're great. Mintmobile.com/twit. As little as $15 a month. The Fox is smart. He's also pretty cool. Mintmobile.com/twit. I love on the SIM card. They have the Fox playing a guitar at a campsite. This is awesome. Mint Mobile. Thank you, Mint, for saving me a lot of money. I don't want to say I'm all in on the Mint, but what does it say? Mint Mobile, shop clever, join the movement. I have to say, I was really pleased when they said, hey, we want to get ads. Do you ever heard of us? I said, yes, I've heard of you. $25 a month, 12 gigs. I've heard of you.
He's actually drinking mint tea.
Are they
goes all the way down?
Oh, yeah, mint tea in my Mint Mobile mug. Are Redditors going to invade Area 51 in September, by the way? Is that going to happen?
I hope so.
The Air Force says we stand ready. I'm not sure that's a good idea.
The last time I checked the Facebook event for the Area 51 raid, I think 750,000 people had responded that they were going.
Oh, my God. So the theory is that there's alien technology hidden away at Area 51 that the government has never told us about it. So let's just go en masse and just march in and get it. What could possibly go wrong?
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
They can't stop us all.
It is.
Someone doesn't understand machine guns.
Yeah, machine guns can stop
wire.
you all, and barbed wire, and the Air Force has planes and missiles, and I don't know. I don't know if this is a good idea.
Didn't they try to levitate the Pentagon in the 60s or something like that? I mean, this is kind of like
things baby boomers do. We tried to levitate the Pentagon. Your kids are trying to invade Area 51.
There was this meme that I saw, and it was just it was almost like a battle plan, and they had like various types of internet niche subcultures, but all ones that were like a little bit off center. You know, you had furries, I think. That was one. I'm realizing now that I'm only remembering furries on that list. No disrespect intended to furries, but there were like half a dozen different groups in different colors sort of combining on Area 51. I don't know. If I were the government, I'd be scared. They're coming.
This has been the best source. There's the attack plan. This has been the best source of memification ever, right?
Yeah, Naruto runners. There's one.
All the people. Battle Royale streamers. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I play Fortnite. I can do this. We can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, even so by now they've moved whatever was there out, right? So even if you get in, there's not going to be anything left.
Right. Well, they use the alien technology to sort of beam themselves to another part of the galaxy. You know, what are the chances that a place that flies experimental aircraft, that people would see strange aircraft in the area? How odd is that?
So Apple updated the MacBook Air and MacBook Pro, and I think this is maybe sad, killed the 12-inch MacBook Nothing. It was sexy. It was innovative. It was influential. It was the smallest MacBook. Harry McCracken writing a brief eulogy for the 12-inch MacBook, a machine of unfulfilled promise.
A tear.
A tear shed. I thought it was, it was a little underpowered, and I guess the MacBook Air kind of probably, scratches all the itches that the 12-inch did. But I liked that old MacBook. I thought that was a pretty sweet.
Well, it reminds us back in the day when Apple was so far ahead of everyone else in laptops.
So far
behind.
Now
they just have lost the plot. They keep coming out with things that people don't really want, keyboards that don't really work. And it's like back, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, there was just nothing like MacBooks. Nothing. They were just perfect. They had like the MagSafe connectors. They didn't have the dumb strip. They, et cetera, et cetera. But nowadays, they and
I noticed you're using a Pixel.
Yep.
Do you use a MacBook, Caroline?
I do. Yeah, I have an Air.
I love my Air.
Fine.
Yeah.
And the battery life is great, and I carry it around. I'm not a fan of the butterfly keyboard, I have to say.
Yeah, my work laptop has the butterfly keyboard, and it's awful. It's been causing me problems.
Yeah.
There's this thing where if I press the shift key, it acts as if I'm pressing the command key. So then the next letter that I press, it'll just open some random app, which is great. I love that.
You never know what's going to happen. It's kind of like MacBook roulette.
Yeah.
There was an issue with Zoom. This is bad behavior. Zoom, which makes we've all used it. Who hasn't used it? Teleconferencing software. It's kind of like Skype.
Yep.
And there's a lot of times you would use it. Maybe you'd uninstall it afterwards. Guess what? Even if you uninstalled Zoom on your Macintosh, it put a hidden web server on your computer that was continuing to run even after uninstall. And bad guys could use to turn on your camera to silently, quietly put you in a Zoom conference with them. Apple did the right thing, though. They just pushed a Mac update without your knowledge, disabling that server. Zoom did not respond too well to the calls to disable it, so Apple had to. Zoom released a fixed app on Tuesday, but Apple said its actions will protect users past and present from the undocumented web server vulnerability without affecting or hindering the functionality of the Zoom app itself, which means Zoom didn't have to do this.
Yeah, that's what's strange, because the whole selling point of that was it would open up the meeting faster and that
Right.
everything would be faster. But
Right.
I mean, I guess not. It's hard to say.
Well, it did if it's always running in the background, but I think that's a bad behavior to always have a web server running in the background even after you've uninstalled the software.
Yeah.
That's not nice. Anyway, it's
Would have
fixed.
been nice to know before I downloaded Zoom.
Yeah.
I didn't have it on my desktop, but I had it on my.
Oh, yeah.
I had it on my phone. I deleted it anyway, but
Who doesn't? I mean, it's not my preferred teleconferencing software, but everybody uses it all the time. So,
at least one.
I was very excited when the Apple Watch Series 4, was it? The most recent one came out with Walkie Talkie. I thought my wife and I, we'll just press a button and say, Lisa, are you there? And she'd press a button and say, hi, can you bring me a cup of coffee?
What?
No, it's not working. So apparently, remember the FaceTime vulnerability that allowed bad guys to get in a FaceTime conversation and watch you? Well, apparently Walkie Talkie, same thing. You could listen to another customer's iPhone without consent. Apple has disabled the Walkie Talkie app pending a fix. So Apple apologized for the bug and the inconvenience of being unable to use Walkie Talkie while a fix is made. All 5 Walkie Talkie users were mad as heck.
And nobody to complain to.
I use
walkie-talkies were.
It's not working. I stopped using Walkie Talkie like 4 days in. It was so annoying.
Yes.
I thought this is going to be great. It'll be like an Nextel phone.
Yeah. I mean, apps that do that have been around forever on phones, and people use them for a couple of days, and they're like, you know what? This is
not
annoying.
that cool.
Make a call.
It's not that cool. There is one Apple feature, though, that is being used to do God's work in Hong Kong, where the protesters are, unhappy, protesting about the extradition treaty with China.
Yep.
The Chinese firewall, of course, is keeping them from accessing content. So they're using Apple's AirDrop. Allows devices to send photos and video over Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to breach China's Great Firewall to spread information to mainland Chinese visitors in the city.
Who are confused by the protest.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't understand.
You leave AirDrop open, and it'll say, "Oh, Fred's going to send you something," and you go, "Really?" And you get some information. This was to let people know about the extradition bill, and it's one way around the Great Firewall of China.
One of the things that this story highlights is something that a lot of people don't realize is that Hong Kong is a huge tourist attraction for mainland Chinese tourists.
Because it's fun.
It's fun. You go, it's like, wow, this is very strange. And this is the whole point, because all of that, there's a total blackout within mainland China of the fact that Hong Kong, that what is it, 1/4 of the population of Hong Kong at some point has protested.
Yeah.
Just a massive, unprecedented, ongoing, sustained protest, which the mainland Chinese people have no idea.
They haven't heard it.
It's
blacked out.
Completely blacked out. So as they stand there gawking at these protests, they're sending details about what this means, what it all is.
What's
so
going
they can
on?
Go back.
Here's a tweet from Alice Su. She arrived at TSD station, and immediately her phone is bombarded with simplified Chinese flyers via AirDrop explaining, what's going on.
Simplified Chinese is the version that mainland Chinese people use, whereas in Hong Kong they use
I didn't know that.
Classical Chinese. That's
I
why
didn't know that.
That's why it's newsworthy that they're using simplified. It proves
It's
that they're
aimed at
targeting
mainland Chinese visitors.
Exactly.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So this is fascinating, but they're always going to find a way around it. I hope. It's just the problem is trying to get mainland Chinese people to care enough, because the big controversy in China is, don't rock the boat. We're on the road to prosperity. Let's not go for freedom. Let's go for prosperity and accept.
And it was a feudal nation 50 years ago or 100 years ago, and has made amazing progress, but at some cost.
Yeah.
Here's, among other posters, did you know over the past month, Hong Kong has seen 3 massive rallies with as many as 2 million people taking to the streets? Don't wait until freedom is gone to regret its loss. Freedom isn't God-given. It's fought for by the people. I think we may be using that soon here.
Yes.
Just remember AirDrop.
That should be the new. Yeah. Exactly.
Wow. That's so that's an Apple technology that is working quite well.
Yeah. It's really clever, I thought.
Isn't that great?
It's a feature, but I think the Chinese Communist Party would consider it a bug.
Yeah. We can't block it.
Yeah.
Apple is making TV. They've already said we don't want to be Netflix. We're going to do handcrafted, artisanal, Brooklyn-style shows.
Throwing millions of dollars per episode at
This
these
is
handmade.
one of the
artisanal-
shows, which is called C, about, I don't know, it's weird.
It's about a future where everybody's blind.
Yeah. Jason Momoa is in it, Alfred Woodard. $15 million an episode. That doesn't, in the Game of Thrones era, that doesn't seem like that much.
Well, for the first many seasons of Game of Thrones, they didn't reach that level. So they eventually they reached 15 million and above. So they're going in just throwing
going
tons
in big
of money.
at first.
But so far, Apple has
it's just like
demonstrated
a
a
huge
complete
gamble
lack
to
of
make up
ability to do compelling programming.
Go ahead, Caroline.
Yeah, I just think that's a huge gamble to make up front. I don't know. I remember that, I don't even remember the name of it, that like reality type or game show.
Oh, God,
that
it was
Apple
awful. The app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
Planet
just
of the
thinking about
Apps?
how...
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, that's it.
They had people pitching. So the idea was to time your pitch to the investors with Shark Tank, basically. So they put them on an escalator, and their pitch had to be done when they got to the bottom.
They're running for president. We'll see who's first to put Vaynerchuk in the chat room.
It's an escalator pitch.
It's the escalator pitch. Vaynerchuk was one of the judges, Gary
That's
Vaynerchuk,
right.
along with Gwyneth Paltrow and Will.i.am. It was terrible.
Quite a brain trust there.
It's terrible. But that was made by other people. They brought in Sony executives, and they're bringing in major talent and all that stuff. It's a lot of money. But Apple's got money.
But even when Apple took over Carpool Karaoke, they kind of smothered the charm out of it.
Well, they took James Corden out of it.
Right.
What's Carpool Karaoke
but they also
without Corden?
Did super high-end cameras and
it was too good.
Better production values. And the whole point of it was that it was cheesy and low budget.
Right.
And they didn't get that. So anyway, we'll see if the Planet of the Blind People is going to be better.
Did you see the Stranger Things AR ad? I didn't see this in the New York Times.
I didn't see the actual ad, but...
So if you had Google Lens and you saw the ads for the Starcourt Mall, which is the Hawkins, Indiana mall that Stranger Things... by the way, they took an old 80s mall that was decrepit and empty and rebuilt it.
Set.
They rebuilt it. It was so cool. I haven't seen all of it, so no spoilers. No. But here's what would happen if you had pointed your Google Lens at the print ad, it would come alive. That's pretty neat.
That is one of the stranger things I've ever seen done with AR. Wah, wah, wah. We were in Hollywood a couple nights ago and wandering around on Sunset Boulevard. They do all the movie billboards there are amazing.
Yeah.
And Stranger Things is just like there's a whole several blocks where every billboard is Stranger Things, and it's like you have to read it as you're driving down the street. But these are gigantic. And
it's like Burma Shave ads?
Yeah.
Caroline, don't listen. Although you could use this for your Things Boomers Do group.
Yes.
Oh my God.
This is good research here.
Burma Shave is like beyond boomers.
No, but that's 20s.
The greatest generation.
But you would sometimes see, even though today, sometimes, maybe, I don't know, when I was a kid, you drive around the countryside, these old ads for this shaving cream, and the whole idea was they would be sequential
Right. You
ads.
read them as you
You'd
drove
read them,
by.
and they would always be a poem, and it would be a joke, and would end with Burma Shave. Okay, I'm sorry I even brought it up.
Go down that rat hole.
Do you want to see a Burma Shave sign? Where are they now? I don't know. Here it is. So you'd go by, and the first sign says, if you then don't know whose signs these are, you can't have driven very far. Burma Shave.
Genius marketing. Genius.
Which Burma Shave was out of business by 1966.
Yes. Coincidence? I think.
My grandparents had a whole book of them.
One of my new hobbies is taking pictures of ghost signs, which I see everywhere in
What's
Europe.
a ghost sign?
It's when they had a sign on a building and they just forgotten about it, and it's still there.
We have some in Petaluma.
We do.
Coca-Cola.
There's a really cool one we saw driving in. What was it? It was like a chicken. It was an egg hatchery or something.
Yeah. There's a lot of old
That's a
hatcheries
cool
around
one.
here.
That's
There
really
used to be there used to be a lot of chicken farms.
But there's one that in France where it's like they're actually advertising telegraph services.
Wow.
It's so cool.
That's kind of a neat
and in
photographic hobby.
Well, here's another thing you realize. We go to a lot of wine countries, and everything used to be called champagne. So you go to the Cava country in Barcelona, and it says champagne because they used to
can't say it anymore because it's a
And they
registered trademark.
And Prosecco and all that stuff. Everything used to be champagne. You see champagne ads in all these places where they don't make champagne anymore.
region said you can't do that. So Amazon's remaking the Lord of the Rings. They spent $1 billion for the rights. For the rights. And they are also making a game. And
which they say is not related, which I'm confused by.
Please, come on. It's an MMO, multiplayer, massively multiplayer online game. So this is good. They're going to merchandise the hell out of this, right? There was a Lord of the Rings online. I didn't know this in the mid-2000s.
Does anybody care about Lord of the Rings anymore? Is that a thing? Anyone?
That's what I'm wondering.
Okay, we got
I don't know. I think people like to read the books. I haven't read the books.
I was over it halfway through the second one.
Harry Potter's even over.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
I think after like eventually at some point down the after the books come out and you just merchandise everything and add new stuff to the canon, people get exhausted.
It's too much.
I think that's happened with Harry Potter.
I have to see that stupid kid with the lightning on his forehead one more time. I was in the bookstore last night, and there's a whole table of Harry Potter games, and they all have Harry Potter on the front.
Yeah, it's vexing.
It's vexing. Cuphead, you ever play Cuphead?
Yep.
Great game, right? Cuphead? No? It's probably the hardest game ever. It's kind of an old 20s cartoon style, Max Fleischer's cartoon style. They're making a Netflix TV show out of Cuphead. The Cuphead show is in production. It will channel the game's homage to Fleischer-era animation. It's very violent.
Very violent.
Yeah.
As cartoons used to be.
Yeah. But I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. Lots more to talk about. Caroline Haskins is here for Motherboard. Oh, love the Motherboard. I'm just going to say, love the Motherboard. Could you do a Freedom of Information Act request of Area 51?
Wow, good question.
Wouldn't that be,
Might as well try.
Be simpler than invading it?
Yeah.
And easier.
And if you get something that's redacted, that's something. That's an article.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's excited about it.
I can tell. Mike Elgin's also here, Elgin.com. If you missed anything this week, we had a fun week on Twit. Here's a little sample of some of the things.
On Twit.
Unexpected announcement this week. Creative celebrates 30 years of Sound Blaster with new AE9 and AE7 sound cards. The Nintendo consoles have enjoyed a renaissance with the NES Mini and the SNES Mini, and they'll capitalize on this trend by serving a market of 10 to 15 people globally with reimagined Game Blaster cards in vintage packaging. Creative, if you're watching, would buy one.
iOS Today.
So the new iOS 13 came out yesterday. If you're in the public beta, we all downloaded the public beta. We should demonstrate this. But I don't know if we can really do it properly. Now look at me. Look at the camera. Now look at me.
You know, we got there. I feel like I ran a marathon today. I'm so proud.
All about Android.
You remember a couple of weeks ago where I brought on my Motorola Zoom and I couldn't power it on because of the power supply?
You found it?
I got the power supply. I had it shipped to me. Play music.
Oh,
you
man.
remember?
Look at that. Look at the upper left-hand menu.
Triangulation.
Bitcoin is based off this wonderful, horrible idea. I'm not that interested in what is the price of Bitcoin, right? Yeah. I'm interested in the technology. Bitcoin's whole point is that it's decentralized, but it's not as decentralized as you'd really like it to be.
Twit. Technology isn't always pretty, but we are.
That was a triangulation with Bram Cohen, the guy who invented BitTorrent.
Yeah.
And maybe he's mad that Bitcoin took his bit.
Yeah. Just a bit.
Here's a quote. This was a tweet from Theophyte. The question was, explain Bitcoin to Grandpa. And the explanation was, imagine if keeping your car idling 24/7 produced solved Sudoku puzzles you could trade for heroin. That's Bitcoin. Good, right?
I finally understand it.
That makes sense now. I understand it. Our show today brought to you by Wasabi. Not that green, hot green stuff next to your sushi, but it is hot. It's hot cloud storage from two of my favorite people in the world. David Friend, the founder of Carbonite, his CTO, Jeff Flowers. It was actually, I think, Jeff who created a patented technology for writing to hard drives sequentially, not in blocks. That's how every other hard drive works. But by writing sequentially, They were able to get improved speed, improved reliability. That's how Carbonite was founded. They've gone on to found this new Wasabi cloud storage, and it's incredible. They are able to, using this revolutionary process, give you enterprise-grade cloud storage that's 1/5 the cost of Amazon S3 and 6 times faster. 1/5 the cost, 6 times faster. They never have hidden fees for egress or API. In fact, they have a great API because it's Amazon S3's API. So they're completely compatible. You already know how to use it. 11 nines of durability. They do integrity checking on your data. And this is so great in this day and age of ransomware. They do immutable data. So you can say, this data may not be changed, not by ransomware, not by a fumble-fingered employee, not by me, not by anybody. Immutable data is the secret to keeping your data safe. HIPAA compliant, FINRA compliant, CJIS compliant. Everybody's moving to the cloud. Gartner Group says by 2025, 80% of businesses will have shut down their data center. 10% today are in the cloud. It's going to be 80% in 5 years. Zettabytes. Well, let me tell you, I know if you're, and a lot of businesses are thinking about this right now. Maybe you're charged with looking into this. You're going to look at Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. I know you are. Can I add a fourth name to the list? Take a look at Wasabi. 1/5 the cost, 6 times faster, immutable storage. This is an amazing company with a revolutionary solution. And because they are 11 nines of durability, you just don't have to worry. Your data is actually more secure, safer than it probably be on premises. So, and with the Wasabi ball, which I love that name, the Wasabi ball is not a green ball of hot stuff. It is actually a giant drive array that they send to you. You put your data on it. You move it up to the cloud instantly like that. Look, we've got unlimited storage for you for a month, so you can really bang on this. If you go to wasabi.com, WASABI, click the free trial link, enter the code TWIT. Join the movement. Migrate your data to the cloud with confidence. Wasabi.com. Don't forget that offer code TWIT. Thank you, Wasabi. Thank you, David and Jeff, for supporting us. They've been supporting us for a long time. They're really Twit fans. And I thank you, Twit fans, for supporting us by using the offer code TWIT at wasabi.com. Watch out, by the way, we were mentioning Prime Day. I just want a little public service announcement. There are a number of phishing scams around Prime Day. So, it happens at tax time. The phishers are just terrible. Prime Day phishing scams, they'll look like emails from Amazon. Just be careful what you click on. Is that part of your Things Boomers Do group? Click on phishing scams?
I think to be fair, I think that, I don't know, Reply All did a good thing about this also. like a lot of people fall victim to phishing scams. Yeah. Like even if you consider yourself like a generally competent person or a skeptical person.
It's too easy.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
it's very easy.
It's really.
I feel like I'm just skeptical of everything in my inbox now.
Yeah.
Like I got a email like asking to do like a survey for work, and I was like emailing all my colleagues like, "Is this real? Am I being phished?"
Right. That's what you have to do now, right? Yeah. Because if it's from work, that's almost that's guaranteed to be a scam.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if it's from yourself or a relative, it's not from strangers.
Were you a Friends fan, Caroline? Were you a fan of the Friends TV show? You're too young for that, probably.
Friends, I've watched Friends. Yeah. It's fine. It's like
I didn't realize
stuff.
It was the number one streaming show on Netflix. That and The Office are huge.
I didn't know that.
It's leaving.
Yeah.
It's moving off of Netflix. It's going to something new called HBO Max. Oh boy, just another thing you're going to want to pay for. Thank you, AT&T. HBO Max will be over-the-top streaming service. HBO already has HBO Go, right? And HBO Now.
That's going to be shutting down.
That is?
Yes. When HBO Max launches, HBO Now will shut down.
AT&T is going to ruin HBO. I remember when the AT&T executive came into HBO and said, "We want to be more like Netflix." I thought, oh, boy.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to get Friends on HBO Max as well as Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Woo-hoo.
This is hot programming.
Pretty Little Liars. Woo-hoo. And I guess all the HBO shows, if they're not going to have HBO Go and HBO Now. CW shows, including Batman and Katie Keene, will be. This sounds like a flop. I'm sorry. Exclusive movies with Reese Witherspoon. There's a name. That's going to 2 romantic comedies and 4 young adult titles with Greg Berlanti. I don't even know who that is. I'm not a young adult. What about us boomers? An Anna Kendrick-led comedy series called Love Life, an animated prequel series for Gremlins. This sounds like
compelling. Very compelling.
Sounds like the worst. It's going to debut in spring 2020 with 10,000 hours of material. Like Dune, The Sisterhood. Friends is it, right? And
yeah, that's it.
Netflix tweeted, the one where we have to say goodbye. We're sorry to see Friends go to Warner's streaming service at the beginning of 2020. Thanks for the memories, gang. And then there's a little coffee cup, which I'm sure means something in Friends language. We don't know what the price will be, but I could tell you right now, if they got Game of Thrones on there, I guess, oh, wait a minute, it's over.
Now that it's over.
They should have timed that better. Yeah. So France. That's all I'm going to say. France. Etienne. France. Etienne's in our studio. He lives in France. Has decided to tax tech companies 3% on digital services if you make more than 750 million euros in global revenue and 25 million in French revenue. In other words, if you're Google, Facebook, or Amazon, you're going to pay a 3% tax, 3% of your total annual revenue. That's a ton.
And what's wrong with that? I mean, I think the other question is, why should tech companies be tax-free?
No, they shouldn't be, but they shouldn't be specially taxed either.
Well,
right? Should there be a surcharge for being a successful U.S. tech company?
How much U.S. income tax did Amazon pay this year?
You know, that's kind of a misleading
stat.
They got a nice check. H&R Block gave them an advance on it. It was nice. It was but
how much was it?
No, it's not zero. It's not zero. Everybody says Amazon paid zero. And it's
very
not.
low.
It's very low. It's low. It's low. Okay, because they spent money. They put.
You know, here's the thing: the tax situation in France is a really touchy subject. You can verify this. I've talked to I got a lot of friends in France. We spent a lot of time in France. I've been told that the income tax rate can be like 70%. Is that roughly? Is that an exaggeration?
It's high.
It's ridiculously high, right?
Yes, ridiculously high, but high services.
Yes.
Okay.
High services, you get what you pay for.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so
we pay high taxes and get nothing.
But in that tax environment, to tax these big companies 3% or something is really a tiny drop in the bucket. And I think, I personally am in favor of national governments doing more to police, to tax, to do whatever they want with these international companies. I was listening to this political podcast where they were saying how the British Parliament called Mark Zuckerberg to testify, and he's like, no, I'm not going to do that.
He said no. He said, and so, in fact, he can't go to Canada. He'll be arrested because he said no to Canada.
Fair enough. But I think, but my point is, the podcasters were saying dumb things, namely that Zuckerberg. The reason is that Facebook is more powerful than the British government. No. The difference is the British government isn't using its power. What they should say is that we're shutting off Facebook until Mark Zuckerberg appears before us.
This is a problem, though.
I think it's
fantastic. We're going to have a splinter net. We're going to have an American internet, a Chinese internet, a Russian internet, and a European internet.
That's a different things like the right to be forgotten. That's a splinter net. But taxing or banning a social network until their CEO comes before the government is, I think, perfectly reasonable.
I don't mind a tax.
Like,
I just don't think there should be more tax because you're a successful tech company.
I mean, lots of taxes are levied for lots of reasons.
Yeah, I guess.
And, in Europe, like the cost of gasoline is super high because they're taxing that for all kinds of reasons. I think it's,
the United States
I'm fine with it.
Trade representative said, we're going to investigate and there may even be a tariff war as a result. Go ahead, Caroline. What do you think?
Oh, no, I think it's just that, if citizens are treated like a well of data that the company is using to profit, it's only fair to expect the company to pay back into services that will help those people.
That's
and
a
I
good
think
point.
The sentiment that the sentiment that it's like anti-American in any kind of way, I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, the solution to that is just tax the companies in the U.S. But obviously, the people who are saying that it's anti-American would not be in favor of that kind of tax. But I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Well, the big fines, like for example, against Google for favoring their own services in search results, all those kinds of things are also called anti-American. I think I've said that myself, but it's really American companies are complaining to European authorities about other American companies. So it's like also favoring American companies for, namely Microsoft, et cetera, to sort of ding these giant companies that are, appear to be favoring their own search results.
One more break. I've got a obituary for a computer science pioneer you never heard of, but he's done two things that you will know. One good, one bad.
Okay.
That's coming up. Our show today brought to you by ZipRecruiter. If you need to do, we just recently done a lot of hiring. I got to say, ZipRecruiter is the bee's knees, as my people say. It is the easiest way to hire. If you're the person in charge of hiring, you know it's a terrible job because, first of all, you're down a person or two or three or whatever, so you're working harder anyway, especially if you're a small business like ours. But also, the person you're hiring, that could make or break your company. Companies are just a bunch of people with a common purpose. A great employee, and I think we just hired some really great employees, to the moon, but somebody not so great could bring you down. ZipRecruiter is going to improve your chance of getting that magic employee. There's somebody out there that's just right for your opening. The question is, how do you reach that person? ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter, the first thing that happens, posts your job listing on ZipRecruiter to more than 100 job sites with one click, including social networks like Twitter and Facebook. So you're going to reach the largest number of candidates. That's great. That means that person, that perfect person, no matter where they're hiding, is going to see your job posting. But ZipRecruiter does it one step better. They use powerful matching technology to scan all the resumes to find people who have the experience to be right for you and then invite them to apply, which means they're actually saying, hey, this is a great job. Come here. You got to see this. And as those applications come in and all the other applications, ZipRecruiter will analyze each one, spotlight the top candidates so you don't miss a great match. All the applications, they don't go into your mail, your inbox, or your phone. They go right into the ZipRecruiter interface. This matching technology is so powerful, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate on the site within the first day. That's been our experience, by the way. It's exactly within the first few hours. Right now, you can try ZipRecruiter free. We've got a special address for you, ZipRecruiter.com/twit. Show your support for the show, just as ZipRecruiter has shown its support by going to ZipRecruiter.com/twit. We love ZipRecruiter. It's been such a great thing for us. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. ZipRecruiter. See, it's that French language that messes up our spelling. ZipRecruiter. We've hired 1, 2, 3, 4 new people in the last month. Some of whom you don't even know about yet, but you will hear soon. Niantic. Now, I said I don't like Harry Potter, but I can't stop playing Harry Potter Wizards Unite. It's the Pokemon Go replacement. Niantic was a spinoff of Google. Remember, they were the Google Maps guys. Their first app, you know what their first app was? Field Trip. Remember that?
Yes. That was great.
Turn on Mike's mic.
Yes. Yes, that was great.
So Field Trip was the app where you'd go around and it would tell you. In fact, it was fun in Petaluma because there was only like 4 points of interest. So you get this. Do you know the movie Remembering the Abbotts was shot in that house? Yes, I know. You told me every time I drive by it.
American Graffiti was shot
right here on this empty lot. There's 4 points of interest. Anyway, they're shutting it down. It's over for Field Trip, which is another. That's how Google works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the new Yahoo.
Yeah. Now there's Chatterbox. Is this? Oh, wait a minute. That's I'm gonna save Chatterbox for the end. That wasn't it. There's a new Google. What is it called? Safety pin?
Oh, Shoelace. Shoelace. They're bootstrapping.
I knew it was a common household object. So what does shoe leather do?
Shoelace is so. I'm especially bitter about this one, Leo. So allow me to express my bitterness.
Because you already You went all in on Google Plus.
Yes.
And your heart was broken.
Yes.
What is Shoehorn going to do?
Shoe leather is a Shoelace is it's supposedly a social network organized around events and other things that are geographically specific. So
this is from Google's research arm, Area 120, which is not Area 51. Do not invade it.
This great, although if you do invade it, this would be a great way to organize that invasion.
Right now, it's only in New York. In fact, you could use it, Caroline. Have you tried shoe leather?
I haven't, no.
I'm just playing into this whole baby boomer thing. Have you seen that I'm wearing mint socks? Have you seen that? Never mind.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, lovely.
So here's what
is Shoelace?
It's this dumb thing that is basically supposedly a social network, but it's focused on
location based.
So it's basically it's like 5% of Google Plus. They decided to come out with this spectacularly insignificant thing.
I have to point out they did this already.
Yes.
They did Schemer.
Several times.
Schemer,
Yeah,
which I
Schemer.
tried. That was the one with the mustache.
This is basically Schemer.
That one was shut down in 3 years.
Yeah, they just need more things to shut down, so they can't shut down things unless they launch things.
So it's an invite-only testing phase on iOS and Android. If you want, though, you can go to this URL, docs.google.com/form/de/1FAIPQLS. Oh, forget it. And you could say, keep me in the loop about Shoelace.
Get it?
Oh!
Like that. Very nice.
I'm going to put a bow on this story and move on. Shoelace. What is with Google?
They really suffer from the inability to understand how people communicate. Yes, that's the
humans. We don't get them.
Yeah.
This was a great piece. I have to say the Privacy Project in the New York Times has been very interesting. Charlie Wartzel and Ashton Gu created, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, New, maybe?
New.
Created a comparison between Google's original privacy policy in the late 1990s was 600 words to their current privacy policy 20 years later, 4,000 words. It scrolls all the way down the page here. It is really it's less about Google than about how the internet has changed and how technology has changed. Because in 1999, there wasn't any, smartphones. They weren't collecting mobile information at all. In 1999, they say Google may share information about users with advertisers, business partners, sponsors, and other third parties, but we only talk about our users in aggregate, not as individuals. That was cut out 3 months later. 20 years later, it's quite the opposite. We will share information. Things we know about you, everything, and we will share it with everybody. And it's a little longer. Location information, they didn't have that before. Your Android device type, carrier name, crash reports, which apps are installed. So it isn't so much demonizing Google, I think, as just pointing out how modern technology like smartphones has given them so much more information.
And it's really, they're stapling on new things every time they get caught doing something or every time they start with a new type of
GDPR, to be
monetization.
fair.
Yeah, GDPR.
Yeah.
I think like the average person just figures like if they've been using Google for a long time, like I don't think it registers in the average person's head just how many changes have occurred. I don't know, just between like 2005 and now, for example, just like the scope of the information that they have on you that they didn't necessarily even have before.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even think that registers in the average person.
Well, that's why I like this. And I don't know why, but the Times marks it an opinion piece. I guess everything on the Privacy Project is an opinion piece. But I think it's a really interesting article, and it is an eye-opener. I don't think people are really aware of how this has changed because nobody reads it.
Right.
They didn't read it when it was 600 words. They didn't read it when it's 1,000 or 4,000.
I think that Amazon's privacy policies are still pretty short because they don't want to talk about it and they don't want to guarantee anything.
Short isn't better.
No, it is not. And I've read their privacy policy around Alexa, and because I was wondering, do they reserve for themselves the right to listen without the wake word? Do they the XYZ? And they pretty much give themselves the ability to do anything. And their privacy policy doesn't say anything about them.
We
not
make
having
no
the
promises. Use
Exactly.
it or don't use it, but we make no promises.
Yeah. So
And then if you thought Google Assistant or Google's home devices were any less intrusive, well, you'd probably
be wrong.
You'd be wrong. Google workers listen to your queries. But, you know, this is part, I mean, all these businesses do this. Again, I think this is like, as you said, Caroline, it's just a case of people don't really think about it. And so they don't pay attention. But if they thought about it, yeah, one of the things that happens with both Amazon's Echo, Google, and I bet you Cortana and Siri too, is they need humans to listen to it to see if the computer understood it, and it's how they get better. VRT News, which is a Flemish public broadcaster in Belgium.
We all read that.
Yeah. Well, if you speak Flemish, it's really the place to go.
That's right. Where else are you going to read Flemish
news? Was able to, so apparently somebody leaked the user voice recordings from within Google to this Belgian organization. A Google subcontractor passed on more than 1,000 assistant recordings. VRT said in these recordings we could clearly hear addresses and other sensitive information. This made it easy for us to find the people involved and confront them with the audio recordings.
And they said, yep, that's my voice. I said that.
Wow.
Here's my favorite factoid from the article. 153 of the 1,000 recordings, the command OK Google was clearly not given.
Uh-oh. So it misunderstood.
Or for some reason, without people doing the wake word, they started recording. And they retain that recording.
Now remember, they only got 1,000 recordings. More than 15% of them didn't have the wake word and included bedroom conversations, conversations between parents and their children, blazing rows, and professional phone calls containing lots of private information.
And really, blazing rows are the worst kind.
That's got to be a Flemish phrase.
Yeah, it's got to
be. Google's response to Ars Technica, actually to VRT. We just learned that one of our language reviewers has violated our data security policies by leaking confidential Dutch audio data. Our security and privacy response teams have been activated. Oh, God, I bet those are robots with laser eyes, and are investigating. We will take action. We're conducting a full review of our safeguards in this space to prevent misconduct like this from happening again. This is going to happen, right? That may be the thing. People always say, oh, I don't want an Amazon in my home because I don't want Amazon listening to me. Bigger the problem may be that it's not just Amazon.
It is not just Amazon.
Yeah, just like remember a couple of months ago when I think someone used some GDPR clause and requested all of the data that Amazon had about themselves through their Echo device, and they sent the wrong person's information, wrong person's recordings to them. Yeah, that's what I thought about when I read this. And there's going to be individual instances like this, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, obviously it raises the question, like, have these companies actually...
The ice cream truck's out front. Run out. Get yourself a frozen treat.
Wow, I guess the audio is very good. Hear my air conditioner.
I just think moving to Brooklyn is the place to be. You got an ice cream truck. Man.
This comes down my block about 5 times a day. I've never gotten ice cream, though.
What? You don't go chasing it?
No.
That's the fun of having an ice cream truck.
Some people do, I guess. It's stuff.
All right, I'm sorry. I mean to interrupt you, but the thought of a frozen treat got me excited.
It's a nice life.
Something boomers do. Pay no attention. In my day, we would chase that ice cream truck. Mr. Softy, stop. I want a rocket pop. What was your favorite?
I don't know.
You liked drumsticks?
Yeah, we didn't.
You look like a drumstick.
I didn't grow up in Brooklyn.
Okay.
We didn't have the ice cream trucks.
I'm sorry. Maybe this has just gone on too long. Did we cover every possible angle of the tech week? Everything going on? Twitter's going to try its hide replies feature next week in Canada. Not here.
Actually, I think this is kind of a significant story because we've had many conversations on this show and also this week in Google about my prescription for the problems that plague Twitter. And my prescription has always been let users delete comments. If I do a tweet and somebody comments on the tweet, I should be able to delete it for everyone. So that's what
Google Plus did, and
that's
it
what
worked.
Google Plus did. Facebook does it too. But in this case, you're kind of halfway there. You can hide people's comments, and they go into a sort of a hidden area. It's not that great of a solution, but it's a step in the right direction, giving the original poster control over the comments. I think that's...
Oh, is that how they're going to do it? Because I
Yes.
thought it was going to be they would look at... this is different from the one where they say, if it's from a famous or political figure, don't look at this.
Right.
They put a thing up. Are you sure? This is different.
Yeah,
This
this is
hiding
different. This is different.
Oh.
So you post
I
something
like
on
this
Twitter,
idea.
you post a comment, and I go in there with a nasty comment, and you can just say, you know what, hide that. It's if people want to go in and see the hidden comments, they can, but they know that people are lazy and probably won't. So it devalues the comments that the poster wants devalued. And some of the criticism, I think, that I disagree with quite a bit, which is that, well, what if somebody's fact-checking? What if somebody's blah, blah, blah? I think that on a social network, you should be able to manage and moderate the conversation that follows of your own tweets. If people want to disagree on their own stream, they can. But I think people should have control over
idea. I hope
comments.
that this works and gains traction.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think one of Twitter's like better features is just where it hides some of the bad replies at the bottom. I don't know. It's vastly improved my Twitter experience.
I got the new Twitter and it looks very different. It's like it's no longer out. It's no longer chronological or anything. It's just like I don't. They've really changed the feed.
Well, they have an option to flip over to recent tweets first, and then but that it only lasts a few days, and then they go back to algorithmically sorted, which is kind of, to me, it's kind of a dark pattern.
Yeah, I don't know what it's doing.
But I think clearly what people want is, many people want, is reverse chronological with no algorithm.
And that's why I use TweetDeck, because it
Yes.
still does that.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Or if you do if you pull up the mobile Twitter URL, because it doesn't, I can do the whole display latest tweets first on my mobile app, but on desktop I type in the mobile URL and do it that way.
A tip.
I'll give you another tip if you're using TweetDeck. I exclude retweets. And the only reason I do that is I feel like that's where you get the viral inflammation happening. Like this sudden, all these retweets. I want to see the originals.
I have a different approach to the same problem. If somebody retweets something objectionable, I
just kill
stop
them.
following the person who retweeted it.
Yeah.
And so
then you get quality retweets.
Yeah, because I follow like Matthew Ingram and there's a bunch of other people who are great retweeters. It's
that's
like an
true.
art form.
I would want to
And
see
so
those.
I discover a lot of new Twitter users by other people's retweets. But
I think
I'm very
the real
active in
answer is
blocking.
we need better moderation tools for ourselves.
Yes.
So that we can make our Twitter feeds better.
Twitter wants to maintain the control over
What you
all
see.
that stuff, and I think give control to the people, man. That's what I say as a boomer.
I want to mention this because he was a very important person in computer science that I thought I knew everybody and all the names in history, but I had never heard of Fernando Corbato. Had you ever heard of him?
You didn't know who your father was, the father of your
Father
computer.
of my computer. He just passed away at the age of 93. Great obituary in the New York Times by Katie Hafner. And here's why you want to remember Fernando Corbato. Before he came along, if you wanted to use a computer, you had to print out a bunch of punch cards, a stack, carry them carefully without letting them fall, spindle, fold, or mutilate to the high priest running the computer, who would then deign to run your job, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, maybe next week. And if, heaven forbid, the cards had gotten mixed up or there was a bug, you'd come get them back and you have to start all over in this process again. Computing was not interactive, in other words. Corbato realized that these computers are fast enough that they could probably do something he called time sharing. He invented, in the early 60s, something called CTSS, the Compatible Time Sharing System, which allowed multiple users in different locations to access one big, expensive computer at the same time through telephone lines with teletypes. Remember that?
Yeah.
And without that, Bill Gates wouldn't, very famously, Bill Gates' mom and other mothers at the Lakeside School in Seattle had a cake sale to raise the money to get a timeshare teletype in a closet at the school. He and Paul Allen learned to use computers to program computers with that interactive timeshare device.
And that all eventually led to Clippy. So this guy's a real pioneer.
He created Clippy. The other thing, though, he had to invent, in order to make a time-sharing system work, you have multiple people on the same computer. At first, everybody was able to see everybody else's stuff. He had to create accounts and passwords. So Corby also, he gets credit for inventing time-sharing. He also gets credit and true interactive computing for creating the password.
And really, isn't that what cloud computing is? Isn't cloud computing just
basically time sharing, right? If you use Google Stadia, you're playing a game on a computer in the cloud.
That's right.
So I think huge. CTSS gave rise to Multics, which was a operating system which gave rise to Unix. Get it? Unix is a singular version of Multics. And in fact, Multics was the inspiration for Linux because Linus Torvalds didn't like Multics.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to make his own version of Multics and created Linux. So
and Linux is what Android, etc.,
is based on.
And still Mac OS, right?
Mac OS is based on Unix. Not Linux.
But both of them can be traced back to this
back to Corbato. So if next time you log in and give a password, you can thank Corby, the father of the computer and the interactive computing and the password. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate Caroline. You're great. You showed amazing fortitude in not chasing that ice cream truck, and I admire that. Caroline Haskins, you can catch her work at Motherboard at Vice. She does such good stuff. I look forward to seeing your next public information request. Look at all this stuff she covers, including rogue cyclists creating a bike lane with toilet plungers.
New York City, baby.
Boy, oh
Great
boy.
Stuff.
It's a good city to live in, isn't it?
Yeah,
You
it's
like
nice.
it? Yeah. It's never boring.
Nope.
Nope. And neither is Caroline. Thank you, Caroline, for being here. We appreciate it. She's on Twitter, Caroline _. CAROLINEHA_ That's what I think. I think the underscore is the
It
the
just
glottal
stops you
stop.
in your track.
That's a glottal stop.
Yeah.
Somebody already had Haskins.
I wish I had Caroline Haskins, but
No, I
alas,
like
I just found out. Yeah.
That's good.
I can't even change my Twitter handle, even if I wanted to, apparently, or you lose the verification badge.
Right.
But
no, you're stuck with
Yeah.
it now. You can
Yeah.
give yourself a clever nickname.
Just change your real name.
yeah. Yeah, true.
Can you have an underscore in your legal name?
First, the first in a line of hots. Very nice.
Also,
Hot
Mike Elgin, who could be
Mike Elgin?
Mike, AELGAN on the Twitter, elgin.com. Don't forget gastronomad.net. And I want to give a plug to Kevin, your son, who is here today.
Yes, he's a Silicon Valley entrepreneur in the education
He's created
space.
something called Shoe Leather. No. Chatterbox, which is, we've talked about it before. It is so cool to teach kids a little bit more about, see, I think one of the things parents are doing, which I think is a huge mistake, they're teaching their kids to say please and thank you to their Amazon Echo. I think that's a mistake. That's personifying something that is a machine. I think more important, the kid learns it's a machine, and here's what the machine does. Here's how it works. Here's what an Echo is. And so this is a smart speaker anyone can build and program with Google Blocks. It's really, really cool. It's called Chatterbox. Now, it was on Kickstarter. You raised a bunch of money on Kickstarter. In about 1 week, you can't get, kids are pretty turned on by this. That kid just dabbed because he built a Chatterbox. You can get one, but you have to wait a little bit. It's going to Indiegogo next. They've used up Kickstarter.
We were just talking about the privacy elements of these virtual assistants in the home. This one doesn't listen until you push the button, and then no data is retained at all. Just period. And can be done.
Whose skills is it? Is it Echo? Is it Google Assistant? Or is it your own? What is the skills?
So we port Mycroft, which is an
Oh, it's Mycroft. Yeah.
open source assistant.
Mycroft is a very cool AI. Yeah.
And so we essentially created a visual skill builder. So kids, all the skills are actually run locally on the device.
Oh, so you get to program the skill.
Kind of like the Apple model. You keep it private and secure through just running it locally.
No ads, no data collection. It isn't always listening. It's a Chatterbox, and you can make your own. How many have you shipped? Have you shipped them yet?
No, they're going to be shipping in time for Christmas. So
What's the processor? Is it an Arduino? What's in there?
It's actually based on a Raspberry Pi.
It's a Pi.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Plus, right now we're actually looking at using 4s, upgrading everybody to 4s, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah, those new Raspberry Pi 4s are awesome.
USB-C cords.
Awesome. Yeah, you have to change your power supply.
Yep, that's what I'm looking at.
Hello, chatterbox.com. Let's give you a nice big plug because I think that's, in fact, I'm going to get one for the kids. I think that's really, really cool.
They'll love it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We had a great studio audience visiting from all over the world. You guys were very patient. That's all I can ever say about our studio audiences. They have bums of steel.
Your fortitude is impressive.
It is. Well, what we do is we invite them here. They sit down in the most uncomfortable chairs we can find, and then we make them stay there for 2 solid hours. Tim and Nina from Orlando, and Rich from San Francisco, and Mick was from Dublin. Etienne is from Paris, and Rod and Carolyn, they're from. You're going to have to pronounce it for me. Steilacoom in the great state of Washington. And Aaron and Caitlin visiting. And, of course, Roberto, great to have you visiting from Brooklyn. No, Queens. Say again? Staten Island. He got here on the ferry. It goes a long way. If you want to be in our studio audience, email tickets at twit.tv. We love having a studio audience. It makes it so much more fun. Especially when they pretend to laugh at my jokes. I really appreciate that. It's always nice. If you want to watch live, you can do that too. We have a live video and audio stream available at twit.tv/live. But if you're doing that, chat, because the chat room is a big part of all of our shows. They're always there at irc.twit.tv. It's family friendly and fun. irc.twit.tv. After the fact, everything we do is available on demand. Just go to our website, twit.tv. You can even subscribe. In fact, that's the best way to get every show we do. Subscribe. That way, the minute the show's available, you'll get it automatically on your smart device.
And don't be a chicken. Subscribe to the All Twitch Shows feed.
There's a feed for all the shows.
All of them. I subscribe to it.
Oh, you nut. Okay, thank you.
It's, if you
Actually,
can
why not? Then
why not?
You got a ton of stuff. You got it all there. That's right. Sounds like a good idea. Thanks, everybody. Did I need to do anything else? Karsten Bondy, our producer, our executive producer, the man in charge.
You're all set.
I'm all set. I'm done. I can go home. I can have lunch. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to go home and watch the last episode of Game of Thrones. Oh, no, that's over.
Friends. Watch Friends.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Another twit.
This is amazing.
Doing the twit.